Chairs were down, so we had to. All chairs was down. First of all, I'd like to apologize if you were waiting. We were in an executive session. So, Mr. Pizzo, do you want to announce that we were having an executive session, or?
Certainly. Why don't, once the meeting gets started, so it's part of the official minutes, Mr.
So I do apologize that you had to wait there. We were in executive session. We'll discuss that when we get going here. So let's open up the meeting with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can make the announcement.
Okay, Mr. Pizzo, can you explain where we're at?
Certainly. So the council was in an executive session for approximately 45 minutes immediately prior to this evening's meeting. Present for that executive session were the mayor, the 5 members of council, the township engineer.
Can we have some audio? Can we turn something up?
I'm speaking into the microphone. The microphone's on, so I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Certainly. Certainly. Again, present for the executive session were the mayor, the 5 members of council, the township engineer, and me. One matter of potential litigation was discussed. No official action was taken by the council during the executive session, and no official action will be required this evening as a result of the executive session.
Okay, and before we get started beyond that, I want to acknowledge that I believe that the Boy Scout Troop 130 United Methodist is here to earn their citizenship and community merit badge. Are Boy Scouts back there? Okay, you picked a good night to learn your government slow, you know? The wheels of government turn slow some nights. Okay, but welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself, and if we have any questions, we'll get with you. Okay, so, Mr. Pizzo, is there any changes to the agenda that we need to beware?
One, this afternoon, my office received correspondence from the attorney representing Johnson Development Associates in regard to the application at 2600 State Road, which would be item number 5 on this evening's agenda. They have requested that the application be tabled to the next council meeting, which is currently scheduled for February 28th, making the request due to their understanding that nearby residents have expressed some concern to the township regarding their plan, as well as some complications that have arisen regarding their plan as it pertains to the township's plans for Renaissance Boulevard, and so I believe they're looking for an opportunity to address some of those issues prior to council hearing their application.
Now, do you think it would be more suitable to go to the March 14th meeting, or do you think we should plan this for a definite one?
I don't have an extension out to that date from their attorney. However, as fortune would have it, their attorney is present in the room for another application. So I'm looking to him as I'm listening to you ask the question to see if
Mr. Pizzo, can I have a minute to confer with my client
Certainly.
about that and
Certainly.
Respond? Thank you.
So that's the only item coming off of this evening's agenda, Mr. Knowles.
Okay, so the Johnson's development, which is the 2600 State Road property that we've gotten a lot of feedback on already, will either be moved to the 28th, which is our February, I'm sorry, the 28th of February, or possibly March 14th.
That's correct.
Okay.
We can take that formal action in a moment once Mr. McGinnis comes back into the council chamber.
Okay, is there, we public comment on any agenda items now that number 5 is off the agenda? We all have public comment at the end. So is there, you can speak as the items come up. Mr. Pizzo, do you have anything on number 3 discussing the township auditor that we need to advertise that for next week? Can we do that in the meantime?
Yes, while we're waiting for Mr. McGinnis. As council is aware, you received notice in your packet that the township's newly elected auditor, Nolan Wilde, has informed the township that he has to resign from that position. As his letter indicates, his employer was aware of his candidacy and had consented to him running for office. However, having now taken office, his employer has reconsidered its position and deemed the position to be a conflict of interest with Mr. Wilde's employment. As he notes in his letter to council, while short-lived, he's grateful for having had the opportunity to both run for office and to have been elected. Unfortunately, his resignation will create a vacancy in that office. So a few things need to happen. First and foremost, council needs to vote to officially accept his resignation under the recent changes in the law. Secondly, what we would then do is authorize Ms. McBreen to advertise the vacancy in the Courier Times and to see that it's placed on township social media, advising the public that they would have until Thursday, February 24th, to submit letters of interest and resumes to the township for the elected auditor position. Council would then take official action at your next meeting, whether it's on February 28th or March 14th, to vote to appoint a new elected auditor. So first order of business would be for council to vote to accept the resignation of Nolan Wilde as township auditor.
And we'll do that now and then point later?
You can do that now.
Okay, is there a
motion then, Mr. President, that we accept the resignation letter of Nolan Wilde as our township auditor?
Okay, is there a second?
So moved.
Okay,
And I would also make part of that motion that we would be accepting letters from
potential,
potential auditors or candidates for that particular office, and to be accepted no later than February 24th.
okay. Okay, so we have a first and you have a second, which is amended. Michelle? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay, so we'll get the letters and then we'll go through them and appoint a new auditor at our next meeting.
Very good. That would conclude item 3. I see Mr. McGinnis is back in the council chamber.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pizzo. After conferring with my client, we will consent to that requested date. I think the phrasing specifically would be if council is holding the meeting as scheduled on February 28th, we would like the matter to be listed on the February 28th agenda. In the event that that meeting is not held on the 28th, then we would consent to have it listed on the next scheduled council meeting agenda.
Very good.
On the 14th, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I just don't know. I don't know whether, I just want to be indefinite at the date because I don't want people to have to come out. So we'll have to make a decision on the 28th and then let people know that it'll be the 28th or the 14th.
I just asked the question, but I just listened to Stacy. Why are we not having a February 28th?
Well, I just didn't know whether we have anything else on February 28th yet. Okay, so we have a meeting on February 20th. I just want to, well, I know, but I didn't want to move it to February 28th and then have it not where people could do it and then have them push it to the 14th. We want to just make it the 28th and have a meeting just for that, no matter if there's anything else?
Well, it's always best, Mr. Knowles, whenever possible, to nonetheless have the
Extension
additional
keys.
window if, as we've had in recent times, a snowstorm, a flood, a
Yeah,
whatever.
I just didn't want to make
We've
it.
had meetings canceled on the day of the meeting due to natural events, and at this time of year especially. So just having that extra window in terms of the extension.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
saying do or don't have a meeting on the 28th, just give
And we
yourself-
aren't going to argue that there's a deemed approval with that, so as you're aware, Mr. Paizo.
Yeah, I don't mind working on the 28th, but I'm
Yeah,
just saying, what I mean?
understood.
It was 60 degrees on Saturday and it snowed on Sunday, so you never know,
Understood.
So I just didn't want to have the option if we had to move it. Okay, so before we get to that, let's do number 4 on the agenda because we didn't have enough people to approve these council minutes, okay? So we have minutes from November 8th, which I guess for the November 8th minutes, it would be Mr. Polari and Mr. Kisselback and myself would be voting since Ms. Benitez and Ms. Champion weren't present at that meeting. Does anybody have any changes to November 8th minutes? The November 8th minute meetings? I looked at it, I didn't have anything. Do you have anything, Mr. Polari, Mr. Kisselback?
I'll put it on the board that we approve them as presented November 8th.
Okay, do you have a second, Joe?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that's good. Okay, and on December 6th, the budget meeting, okay, which again would be the same thing. Is there any changes to the budget meeting anybody has, December 6th?
I'll do the same thing,
Okay,
make a motion to approve it as presented.
as presented,
Second.
second, okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the 6th is good. All right, and we have January 3rd, our reorganization meeting. Now, Miss Champion was able to make it, but Miss Benitez was ill.
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. You were there, I'm sorry. You were there for that one, I'm sorry. Okay, so all the members were present. So January 3rd, does anybody have any changes to the January 3rd reorganization minutes?
I like a new president.
You might as well be, but okay. What, do you want to make a motion?
No.
No, okay.
Let one of the ladies
Do you want to make a motion to accept the minutes? Michelle?
To accept minutes from January.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, nobody against? Okay, January 10th, okay, that's the one Michelle was unfortunately not feeling under the weather. Okay, so we have January 10th minutes. Are there any changes to January 10th meeting? Minutes?
No.
Nope.
Make a motion to accept.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so those minutes are accepted.
And I will abstain.
You will abstain and Ms. Benitez, so it's us three voting yes, which we didn't have a majority the last time. Okay, number 5 on the agenda is a consideration of preliminary land development for Johnson's Development Associates, 2600 State Road. Is there a motion to move this to the 28th, and then if we have our meeting on the 28th, and if not, we have permission to move it to the 14th of March?
I'll make a motion that we schedule it to our first scheduled meeting, whether it be the 28th of February or March the 14th.
That's correct. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any against? Okay, so the Johnson's Development Associates is moved to the 22nd. We will have public comment if there's somebody.
28th.
Excuse me.
28th.
28th, yeah. If there's somebody here that, can't come back on the 28th or the 14th, and we'll try to let you know as soon as possible that we're having it on the 28th, so not to affect your schedules. And I do apologize that you had to come out tonight if you were interested in that. But we did get a lot of your correspondence, and we did talk about that in our executive session for a pretty long time period. So that's moved to the 28th, possibly, hopefully the 28th. Okay, number 6 on the agenda, consideration of
Mr. President, can I just make
I'm sorry.
one comment, just since we're here and some of my clients are here as well? Certainly, based on our understanding regarding comments that have been raised to the township from some of the affected residents, we would certainly welcome and support any comments associated with our application, so of course we can take them into consideration between tonight and when we move forward. So it's a bit atypical procedurally, but we would welcome and support hearing any issues or comments from members of the public. So I just wanted to state that for the record, since we are in the audience still tonight.
I agree. I think it's a great idea to hear anyone who would like to come
Okay,
up.
so you want to do it? No, that's fine too, and I was
Thank
asking
you.
whether we should do that. Okay, is there anybody, because we kind of went by agenda items pretty fast, is there anybody from the audience that would feel that they would prefer to speak now in reference to the Johnson's development? Or someone wants to speak on someone's behalf? And if, you all have a right to speak on this, but if one person makes the points that you're going to make, then we can come back on the, when it's actually being heard. And just identify yourself for the record.
My name is Joanne Stewart. I'm at 118 Royal Mews in the Waterside development.
Okay.
I will thank the company and the council for tabling this for tonight, because the residents did not have ample time really to review any of the plans or anything that was on the plans were just on the agenda this morning. So I'm speaking here tonight to request first the rejection of the planned warehouse development by Johnson Development Associates at 2600 State Road, which was on this evening's agenda. This warehouse development is wholly inconsistent with the administration's Waterfront Renaissance plan. Bensalem Council should not entertain any proposed development that does not align with the revitalization of the waterfront. May I remind the council of the 7 core principles of the Waterfront Revitalization Plan. The region should retain its visual character derived from the natural infrastructure. Green corridors defining and connecting urbanized areas. The development is compact, pedestrian-oriented, and mixed use. That ordinary activities of daily living are within walking distance. That appropriate densities and land use are within walking distance of transit stops. That buildings and landscaping contribute to the physical definition of the community with a range of housing types and price levels for diverse ages and incomes. Development of this proposed warehouse distribution facility does not align with these core principles. The homeowners of Waterside literally bought into the planned renaissance of the waterfront. We purchased our homes with the understanding that the revitalization plan, while it takes some time, was an active vision along the waterfront, not a passing pipe dream. The proposed 246,000 square foot warehouse distribution center at 2600 State Road does not align with this plan. Phase 1 of the plan specifically includes construction of a new road parallel to State Road to divert truck traffic from State Road. Unlike the rest of the properties on tonight's agenda, there was no link prior to today. The link that was on a previous agenda showed a site map that does not include that construction of that parallel road. We are already seeing increased truck traffic with the approval of the Amazon distribution warehouse on the other side of Street Road. Adding another warehouse and the proposed revitalization area is unacceptable. We already have infrastructure and flooding issues along State Road. The addition of another warehouse distribution center will add impervious surface and exacerbate those issues. Rather than considering additional warehouse facilities, why is the township not actively soliciting for businesses and developers that will contribute to the core principles and intent of the revitalization plan? Again, I'm formally requesting the council reject the planned warehouse development. The outcome of your decision regarding this matter will affect how I vote in future elections, as well as my future residency in Bensalem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I think I did read your email this afternoon, and also, just to mention, I got another email from somebody that originally this morning, the plans were not on our site earlier this morning. I did call, and there was a thumb drive. It was a very big file, so they were working on it, but they did get it up on the site, okay? So the plans were put up on the site shortly after we were made aware. Okay, is there anybody else that wanted to speak now? Yeah, come on.
Good evening. My name is John Grassi. I am a representative of the property owners who own approximately 150 acres surrounding this parcel. We fully understand that this is a by right use, and we understand that this is being tabled to primarily to discuss Renaissance Boulevard, which would obviously impact our parcels. So what we are asking is, we understand that this is being tabled, and you are going to consider it either on the 28th of February or the middle of March, but obviously, as a stakeholder who is going to be impacted by this development and by the road, we are going to want to be involved in these negotiations and these discussions.
Okay, so, and we have your contact information, so we can get a hold of you, right?
Okay?
All right, so I appreciate you coming up.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this matter? Again, we'll try to make, appreciate you coming out, and we'll try to make it, the plans are on the site, and we'll try to make a notification on our site right away if we're going to actually have it on the 28th, and we're prepared to do it at that time, or whether it's going to be the 14th of March at the latest, okay? So I appreciate.
May I ask something, Mr.
Yeah, go ahead.
President?
Yes, sir.
Is there a representative of the Waterside Association?
Yeah, she was
that
the
would be
assistant. She was the assistant.
You're the, so you'll be the contact person, is that correct? Could you give your number and,
Yeah, I think we have it in the
Debbie?
email.
I know, I mean, I know who you are, but I want to make sure that we have it, and we have you also, sir? Yes. All right. Debbie, you have that information?
Yeah, if you want to give Debbie your sir, if you want to give Debbie your contact information so we can make sure you're made aware. And is it Ms. Stewart? Is that what you? Yeah, Ms. Stewart, I did get an email from you. Did you have contact information on that email? Because, okay, good. So we can, I'll make sure that Debbie has a copy. You have a copy of that already, right?
Okay, and the mayor just informed me that it will be on our site, all the information as it progresses.
Okay.
But you may want to make contact with.
Okay. All right. So if that's it for now, we'll continue this, and we'll continue talking about this. And like Ms. Stewart said, it gives people an opportunity to, get other people's opinion involved, and we want you to have plenty of opportunity to speak about this. Okay. Thank you for coming out. Okay. Number 6 on the agenda, considering of rezoning for 4020 Mechanicsville Road, LLC. Do we have somebody? Which one to put it up against here? You do the rezoning first? Yeah, sure. Put that up. Put that up first.
Good evening, members of council. Matthew McHugh on behalf of the applicant, 4020 Mechanicsville Road, LLC. I have with me also tonight Mark Havers, who's the project engineer. We have actually items 6 and 7 on the agenda, which are a rezoning of the parcel and then also a preliminary final subdivision plan provided to Mr. Pizzo, hard copies of the notice letters for both of those applications, and I previously emailed him those. I don't know if council wants us to break up the presentation into the 2 separate items or do it collectively at one and then go through comments at that time, but I'm happy to do it either way.
If I may offer a
Yeah,
suggestion,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Knowles, I would concur with Mr. McHugh's suggested course of action. It's consistent with the way council has handled these kinds of applications in the past. So it would be a combined hearing on the rezoning and on the proposed preliminary and final subdivision, and then you can vote separately on each of those actions.
Okay, and We can do the preliminary and final subdivision, and then if we decide to do something on this, we would do it conditioned upon the settlement of their case.
Well, we have a rezoning first, right?
Rezone, yeah, he wanted to
Yes.
do them together, though.
Yeah, so I mean, I can start, it'll be,
They'll be separate, they'll just be separate votes, that's all. It's, all of the pertinent materials to the subdivision are pertinent to your decision to rezone. So that's why you're doing it as a single action. The record should also reflect that,
It is, but it isn't. I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying, but in reality, you're not making a zoning decision basing on the subdivision that they're presenting to us, because once the zoning is changed, they can change their subdivision as to what they want to do. Is that correct?
that's correct, and that's typically why you do these as combined items, as you most recently did last year with Armstrong. You made your decisions regarding the rezoning of the property at the same time that the developer came in for the land development, so that you weren't rezoning weeks or months ahead and leaving
Okay.
it open for the developer to change what they might want to put on the property. So what you're saying is correct. That's typically why you do it in this fashion.
Okay, so Matt, you can explain to us what you're doing with the zoning. It's
Sure.
a small piece that needs to
absolutely.
be changed,
Yeah,
right?
just so to orient council to the property, it's 4020 Mechanicsville Road. It actually is these two parcels outlined in green as the larger parcel, and then this green stripe parcel is the smaller one. The larger site, everything in blue here is zoned R1, including the smaller parcel. The larger parcel is zoned R11, which is consistent with the zoning to the north, where Grace Avenue goes. Our proposal here is to rezone this entire parcel, consolidate them into one parcel, and rezone it completely as R1. And what you can see here is that there is a significant amount of R1 zoning already in the direct area. The properties adjacent to it, across the street down here, over here are all R1. So we believe that it makes sense from a perspective of good community planning here to have consolidated single zoning of R1 on these parcels as they're being developed. And that will allow us to subdivide the property into 7 lots, which is shown on the
Okay,
plan.
yeah, that's not that, yeah, they're both residential, it's just, and it's.
Yep, so you have split zoning right now. You have R1 and R11 on the site, so it's a split zone site. This would consolidate them into one parcel, make it R1 zoning across the board for that consolidated parcel. And then also, that would now have consistent zoning along that side of Mechanicsville Road.
Okay,
So that's, I mean, that in the shell is the rezoning case, and that leads us into what the subdivision allows for. And
Can I make a question, since you're actually referring to that at this point?
sure,
The zoning itself. Turn it back again, if you would, Mr. McHugh. I just
Sure.
want to say, I understand what you're saying, and I certainly agree with what you're saying. However, if you were to take the northern part, which is R11, and this middle part, which is also R11, and continue that down to the green part, which would now also possibly become R11.
no,
so
it's
the green
it's
part,
R11
the green
now.
part is R11.
They want to change it to
Wonderful.
R1.
The green part is
Then if that
R11.
were to maintain itself as R11, and that little 1 acre area would be also R11, that would also have a consistency to it relative to going from north to south. Am I correct in that?
No, I think you're correct in that, but when I look at it, Mechanicsville Road is a major road here, and you would essentially have consistent zoning all across this side of Mechanicsville Road at that point. And I think that allows for, that's consistent with what is shown on Mechanicsville Road, both
The
adjacent
blue,
to the
the
property.
blue in the center now is R1.
Yep,
right?
that's correct, Mr. Knowles.
Okay, so the green, which goes on both, actually reaches Mechanicsville Road around that other property on both sides,
Yeah,
right?
so right now, this is the R11,
So you want to make that all green R1.
R1 blue.
Along with that little centerpiece,
Yep,
so then that whole piece that you have,
yep, so what is green now would turn blue, and you'd have a blue line straight across.
and how big is the entire piece?
Mark, what's the total acreage?
7.3 acres.
Yeah, okay, so,
It's 1 acre piece, and then this is.
so then everything along Mechanicsville Road
From
Okay.
Glen Avenue all the way to Galloway
would be R1.
would be R1.
Going back to where it's
To
R1.
to the properties on Grace
Both
Avenue.
Rice
Which would then be,
restaurant.
Grace Avenue would then be an R11 zoning classification.
Okay.
I guess my reason for asking that is from a practical or pragmatic point of view relative to the shape of each individual lots, where if it's R1, it's an 80-foot front, where R11 gives you a 100-foot frontage.
Correct.
Now, it would probably eliminate one of the lots.
Correct.
However, aesthetically, I guess, or realistically, it would be more proportion to a lot relative to it going, how far are those lots going back? 500 feet?
Over 500 feet.
Over 500 feet. So if I'm thinking 100 feet from
So
500 feet makes more sense than 80 feet wide and 500 feet wide.
So if you look at the parcels that are adjacent to it, they're about 80 feet in width also.
Okay.
So those lots would then be, these lots would now be consistent with what is currently on Mechanicsville Road.
Okay, I'm fine with that, I'm just making that point.
No, I think
thought
it's
from aesthetic-
got to go one way or the other. It's either everything's zoned to R11 or everything's zoned to R1. We prefer R1. It provides us with the 7-lot subdivision. I think it matches with the character of the neighborhood.
All right, you've answered my question, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay. So that's what
This is
eventually. if the
it's a by right
zoning-
subdivision plan. From a zoning perspective, no variances are required. It allows for, as Mr. Kisselbeck noted, an 80-foot lot width, almost 500 lots, or 500 feet deep. One minor change that we did make to the plan from what the Virgin Council saw is we stepped the houses back a little bit further into the building envelope to provide for a longer driveway, and also provided for a little cutout to allow for parking or turnaround so that there wouldn't be parking along Mechanicsville Road. That's all still permitted within our zoning requirements, doesn't trigger any variances, the additional impervious, but we thought it was a nice feature to make sure there's no parking on Mechanicsville Road, something that people may be concerned with.
Yeah, we were going to mention, a couple of people actually had asked, if we were going to mention that. So it's better to be able to turn around, this way you're facing forward
Yep.
when you're coming out on Mechanicsville Road.
Exactly, so these
We don't
little-
want cars backing out on Mechanicsville
Exactly, so
Road.
that provides now for that opportunity for people to either park there, turn around there, so they're facing in the right direction, and also to prevent parking along the street, Mechanicsville
So
Road there.
each lot would be approximately 80 by 500?
Yes, it's even 550 almost.
Okay, so 80 by 500.
Now, there's a lot of vegetation to the rear of the property. We're
Right.
not disturbing beyond the zoning ordinance requirements, but there is a limit to the amount of trees that you can take down on the overall lot. One of the comments in the T&M letter was to provide a deed restriction to make sure that no more than the allotted trees are taken down. So we're going to do that. We'll make sure that deed restriction is incorporated. So you'll see no more than 50% disturbance of the existing trees on the site. So it'll be buffered very nicely to the north in Grace Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, how about that? Could that be also put in a agreement that there would be so many feet back could not be disturbed as opposed to X amount of 50% of the trees? In
Yeah,
other words-
I'm sure that we could accommodate that. I mean, the plan shown right now, the only disturbance is going to be on the front half, but we'd be willing to a restriction to that end. The zoning ordinance only requires the percentage, but if there was a buffer yard, I mean, we're providing almost 250 feet there before there's a disturbance, I think.
And that's what I'm thinking, in terms of somewhere in that area.
Yeah,
Even if it was 200 feet, at least,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because the building envelope only goes back.
Well, the building envelope technically goes all the way back, but we're not, I mean, we pushed these back from where council saw them before, and we still have a significant amount of room here, almost the length of my pen, until you start seeing a disturbance of the tree line.
Yeah, and to be on the safe side for the developer, if I would say 200 feet, so that would give you the benefit of the extra 50 feet, of 300 feet, you can go back as far as, but the other 200 feet would not be disturbed. That's
Mark,
what
you
I
see any
was
problem with
thinking.
that?
I don't see, we'll verify that number, but I think that'll work.
Okay.
I think we're 30% disturbance of those, or around 50, so we can actually go back farther. 200 is probably.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. Okay, anything else?
As it relates to the T&M letter, that was the latest review letter we had, November 10th, 2021, where we'll comply on all of the review letters. Every issue we're willing to address. We do have 2 waiver requests. They are for curbs and sidewalks along Mechanicsville Road. There are no existing curbing or sidewalk along that portion of Mechanicsville Road, so it really wouldn't enhance anything, but we would obviously pay the required fee in lieu of for those.
So as determined by our township engineer, you were paying for
Correct.
curbs and sidewalks in
Yes,
lieu of.
that's
future-
correct.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, yes. Stacy, go ahead.
So, being a mother of 2 children who walk on a street that has no curbs or sidewalks, and knowing that recently, one of the developments have put a curb in, or I should say a sidewalk in, for children in another development, so they are not standing on the road or in dirt. And the fact that many people are walking and many people complain about not having sidewalks, it would be nice to see that starting to happen, especially if there's going to be children in here and a place for them to stand, rather than standing in the driveway.
Even if they visit their neighbors.
So, I'm sorry?
Even if they visit their neighbors.
Even if they visit their next door neighbors going across, I think it would be the time to start. It's not just one single, it's 7, and I think it would be a good time to start saying that as we progress along.
Certainly understood, and just because these sidewalks would not connect anywhere, so, but that was part of our consideration in stepping the houses back a little bit, so that if people are walking, pedestrians along the road, there is plenty of opportunity for them to not be walking right along the shoulder.
But they'll be walking on your grass.
Yeah, understood.
So I think I'd rather have somebody walk on my sidewalk
Is it
than on my
possible to
grass.
put curbs and sidewalks if it was chosen to put, you're paying for them anyway, so I mean, so can you,
I think
engineering-wise?
Sidewalks, curb creates some
More
drainage
the
problems.
sidewalks
the
I'm
drain-
concerned
yeah,
about than the
okay.
curbs.
You need a drainage system, so it just sort of compounds itself. Sidewalks, we can definitely look at that. I think we can.
I'm getting the okay from my client. They're willing
so,
to
yeah,
remove
so
that waiver. They'll put the
Mr. Chairman, you can
sidewalks.
put the sidewalks in at
But,
least, and then the.
yeah, we're still asking for the waiver from the curbs.
Yeah, and even if they don't have to walk anywhere, like Ms. Champion said,
Nope.
at least if they have children standing for the bus or.
That's fine. If that's the preference
or
of the
something.
township to have those sidewalks, then we're happy to put them
Okay, and then we'll do the lieu, in lieu of for the curbs.
for the curbing. That's correct.
Okay, so is there anything under chapter, looking at the letter, okay, under the zoning ordinance, that's all, under D, under subdivision?
Those
There's
are
no
all-
there's no other,
Yeah, we will comply. We either have addressed in our revised plan or will address in a future revised plan all of those comments.
okay.
Most of those are stormwater management things that are just some minor calculations and things that we're committed to work with the township engineer to make sure that they are compliant with the zoning ordinance.
And as far
Or
as,
the thought out.
as far as the stormwater, once we get to stormwater management, it looks like you're reducing most of the flows at the site, right? From what they are now?
Correct.
So you're complying with D, did you say, in its
Yeah,
entirety
everything.
from 1 to, was it 21?
30.
1 to
And that goes
30?
30,
And then we
correct.
go into stormwater
So they're all
management
one
plan.
comply, they're all will comply, right?
Yes, the whole letter is a will comply.
Okay, is that correct? Bill?
Yes, Mr. Knowles. The only waiver is the curb, and everything else is, yeah, the pay in lieu, fee in lieu for that. All else is, will comply, and so we feel that at this time, it's able to be considered for preliminary and final approval, and with the revisions to be made at final plan approval.
Okay, and then,
I don't see it here, but I know you agreed for the impact fee too, like $4,000, was it? Is that correct?
I don't have the exact number in, but that will be in the developer's agreement when it comes through.
Yeah, I
but
think
it's-
it was.
Right, and there was a review letter, and we will comply with that as well.
Yeah, I knew that. I wanted to make sure.
recreation fee too, right, for each lot?
Yep, that's in the T&M letter, and we will comply on that.
You're correct, Mr. Kissel, about $4,000 for the impact fee.
Is there, any questions from any of the other council members about this?
There's just one other element I do have to mention, I think, Mr. Knowles, because it drives into a condition of approval. I think council is aware that there is a neighboring property owner to the north who has instituted a legal action against us for a claim of quiet title for an alleged easement that runs through the parcel. We're in Bucks County Court of Common Pleas defending that action. We believe we'll be successful, but in the furtherance of moving forward with the approvals tonight, we are willing to agree to a condition that we will not begin construction nor have final plan recording until that easement litigation has been addressed to the satisfaction of your township solicitor.
You know, Joe, Mr. Pizzo, I did read the letter from their solicitor, so, but I'm not an attorney, so I want to confirm with you, that they apparently agreed to allow us to proceed with approving this, conditioned upon that case being settled prior to full development.
The attorney for? Okay. So yes, so the condition, if council is of a mind to approve the plan tonight, will effectively keep this project from moving forward until such time as that litigation is resolved. So if council is of a mind to approve the rezoning and the subdivision and land development plan this evening, as Mr. McHugh indicated, it would be so with a condition we would recommend, the condition that the record plan would not be signed or recorded by the township, nor would any land development agreements be entered into until such time as the pending quiet title action is resolved to the township's satisfaction.
My question would be, if we approve the zoning, which would be a separate than the subdivision itself, that would certainly put things in place in terms for the zoning. However, if we were to approve the subdivision and land development, and you were not successful in court, and it was determined that the individual who wants to put an easement through that property, wouldn't that change the whole look of the subdivision and land development?
Essentially, it would change a little bit. I mean, we'd probably lose one lot. The result of that litigation, if the neighbor were to be successful, would be that we'd have to provide her an easement exactly where she wants it, which would be kind of running through these two lots. We'd have to look to see if we could still accomplish 7 lots from a by right perspective. It may be that in order to provide that easement and also develop the property, it may go down to 6 lots. But we're willing to take that risk in moving forward. We believe we're going to be successful with the litigation. But if that were to occur, we'd have to come back to you for an amended approval and provide that easement that she's requesting.
But it would change the whole look of the lots themselves and the placement of where they are, is that correct? I would have to.
To a certain extent.
And the sizes of the lots would probably change too.
But yeah, a little bit. I mean, you're talking, you provide, it goes kind of through the edges of 2 lots. We would probably consolidate more into 6 larger lots.
But the size of the lots would change, they would have to
The
change.
width of the lots would probably,
The width of the lots
width
would
of
have
lots
to
would
change.
change. The depth, obviously not.
So again, I have to ask you, why wouldn't we approve the zoning, which would put you in place to go to court and say, well, we have the zoning appropriate and this is our plan, and then if you were successful in court, you would come back to us with the revised, or this specific plan. If we tabled this plan, we could always table this plan.
Sure. Mhm.
And then you could come back immediately and just get your approvals within 2 weeks. Or if you had to redo it anyway, that would be the same amount of time anyway. So wouldn't it be appropriate that we would table the subdivision and land development? I'm asking you that.
No, so this accelerates our approvals period in the sense that the approvals granted, the appeal period from any decision of council would run as of the date of Mr. Paizo's letter.
Okay.
So if we were to wait until the litigation were to be resolved, then come back before you, we could get an approval, a neighbor or any other person could file an appeal of that decision, and then we're back up in Doylestown for another 6 to 9 months resolving that.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I understand that. Okay.
So it's our risk. We may have to, if we are not successful in litigation, we're going to have to come before you, but we're willing to take that risk in moving forward.
Because there was an appeal process, that would
Yes.
change the dynamic.
Changes the dynamic of it. That's correct, Mr. Kisselbeck.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
I got it.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, because we were going back and forth with that, trying to figure out.
Yep, understood.
We're not attorneys.
Yep, no, understood.
We have to ask these questions. Okay, is there any other questions from, so basically, if we approve this tonight, okay, it would be contingent upon you being successful about whether she has an easement for a driveway to get through the property.
That's correct, Mr. Knowles.
And you believe that she doesn't, but. You know,
But that will let, the court is ultimately going to be the one that decides that.
So, and you think you're going to be successful, and then you leave it the way it is, but nothing's going to be recorded, and nothing's going to be.
No construction, no earth disturbance will occur until that.
And then if you lose the case, okay, then you're going to have to take the chance, and then you're going to come back to us and say, hey, we have 6 lots because we have to give her a driveway.
Yeah, whatever it ends up being, you'll see an amended plan.
Okay, all right, I understand. I just wanted to get the clarification and then have the exact wording, Mr. Pike can help us again when we make a motion.
Yep.
Hopefully. Okay, is there any other questions from any other, it looks like it fits the area well, and these would be in what price range do you think we these are single?
So they're,
Just so people are clear about just a round thing there.
Yeah.
These aren't twin, these are single.
these are single-family houses. It's almost over an acre-sized lot. We think they're going to originally list in the 700,000 range.
So they're going to be nice homes?
Yeah, it's going to be well-constructed, single-family dwellings here.
I'm not a so. You have a question, Michelle?
No, I was saying you should.
Oh, okay, I'm
so
sorry.
we can hear you out more.
I'm sorry. I'm not used to people, I'm sorry about that, I should have my microphone. I should have my microphone on, I'm sorry, that's a scout should learn that, to put your microphone on. But I'm pretty loud anyway, so most people can hear me without a microphone, but I thought you were trying to speak, I'm sorry. Does any other council people have any questions? Okay, and then, Phil, everything else is clear as far as you know, we have no other issues with this?
No, Mr. President, no other issues.
Okay, so then the motion would include, Mr. Pizzo, might clarify the verbiage, that the plan won't be recorded until the case is resolved. And then also that you're agreeing to put sidewalks out front, and then you'll pay in lieu of for the curbs.
That's correct, Mr.
Okay,
Knowles.
so there won't be any flooding issues. And that was a good idea, too, because it's safe for kids to actually stand at the bus and such. Mr. Pizzo, do you have anything else you need to add, or before we ask for public comment, or?
No.
Okay.
Well, yes, two things. One, the applicant has provided to us in advance of this evening's hearing proofs of notice to adjacent property owners for both the hearing on the rezoning of the property as well as the hearing on the subdivision and land development. Secondly, the record should reflect that the proposed rezoning was advertised in the Bucks County Courier-Times, consistent with the requirements of the township zoning ordinance and the municipality's planning code.
Okay. Okay, so is there anybody, okay, so there's no other questions from council. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this subdivision? Zoning change? Does someone have their hand up, or, okay. Okay, yeah, come on up to the mic and then identify yourself and let us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank O'Connell. I live at 3942 Mechanicsville Road. It's the adjoining property. I've lived there at that place for about 22 years.
To the left or to the right face?
That's just south of it.
To south, okay.
If you were going north, going up Mechanicsville, I'll be the house there. You might have passed there.
Okay.
I own almost a farm.
Okay, good.
For years, and I still battle it, water runoff. And if you come up there on a heavy rainy day, you'll see it flows out into the middle of the road, comes out of the field. I have swales in, down the sides. I have 3 pumps outside trying to pump the water away. Swale runs right down Mechanicsville Road. And as you said, young lady, that they would probably, you would like to see sidewalks, which is quite understandable. But would they run those sidewalks all the way down, like across my property too?
No.
No, okay, because we have swales from that property all the way down to Galloway. When the water comes, it can't contain them. I was out there again, cleaning again last week, and I've had water come in my basement, in my garage. The concern is, hopefully they'll make it so it won't get any worse.
Yeah.
I really don't want to see it any worse.
Well, the engineer can address this to you, but one, and that's a good question, actually. If there's a swale right along Mechanicsville Road, because there's, on both sides, actually, it does that, and water runs, in, say, a ditch or a swale, then you could put the sidewalks behind that swale, right, in front of this development. You're not going to cover up the swale, the existing swale.
No, sir, and I think it's best to hear from the applicant's engineer regarding what their stormwater intentions are on this one.
Okay, and can you speak to, when the gentleman's done?
Yes.
In reference to stormwater and particularly addressing his concern about his property and stormwater, because there'd be no other stormwater. Okay, let make sure he's finished first. Do you have any other?
Okay, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate what you folks do.
Okay, thanks for coming out.
But I hope something, I don't want to see it get any worse, because you see, it actually will run to the other side of the road, and the newer homes that were built in the past, say, 14 or 15 years, they're taking a lot of the water now coming over that way.
Yeah.
It's an issue, we understand about water, but with getting this impervious surface, where's the water going to go?
Yeah. Well, it'll just be the sidewalk, but we're going to have him address the stormwater.
Yes.
And he'll make it better. And I'm sure when they'll do anything they can to make sure your situation doesn't get worse, it gets better.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Okay, can you address the stormwater and how it would stay off of adjacent properties? Yeah.
We're creating two on-lot stormwater facilities that will control the runoff to below where it is today, much less than it is today. The way the ordinances work, it's required by ordinances that we look at it in a meadow condition, sort of the worst case from our standpoint is it generates the least amount of runoff, less than it does today. And that's what our benchmark is. We have to control to that or lower. So we'll be reduced, I don't have the numbers with me, but the flows will be reduced significantly off the site, not only by the township ordinances, but also by the county and NPDS regulations. As far as drainage along the roadway, we're sort of at a high point, so the swell doesn't really begin there, but we can push our sidewalks back, I guess, to look at the neighboring swales to make sure it doesn't run into it if it ever gets extended.
Yeah, you don't want it affecting the flow of the
Correct.
swale going down the road, you know what I mean? And that's why I was just asking if for setback purposes with PennDOT, they could put the sidewalk a little bit back further.
That's right, and Mr. Havers brings up a good point regarding they didn't have sidewalk before. Now that they're going to have that, they'll have to move that back, so it's not a problem.
Right, with the swale, that's what I meant. Okay, thank you. We have other
What's
people
the
who'd like-
difference? You have point of interest number 1 regarding stormwater management, and point of interest number 2, where
The
is
site's
that?
sort of at a high point, so it flows in two different directions. We look at both points where it flows to and reduce the flows to those.
Okay, so the numbers here are basically point of interest number 1, 100-year flood, pre-development is 5.07 cubic feet per second, and at 100-year frequency, it's 4.41, so it is reducing itself.
Correct.
However, on the 1-year flood, it's 0.90, and on post-development, it's 0.9440. Little difference, but it's pretty close to the same. However, on point number 2, it's remarkably much better, where it's 100-year flood is 20.17, and it goes almost in half to 10.67 for 100-year, which is excellent, as well as the 1-year flood pre-development flow is 3.83, and now when you're finished, it's going to be 2.50, which is also
Significant.
almost in half or close to it. So that's, sounds like it should address those problems very well.
It'll definitely help those concerns.
Is that right, Phil? You got that?
That is right.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good job,
Sure.
Thank you, let's get the other people. Sir, if you identify yourself and then,
Good evening. My name is James Weingart, 3924 Mechanicsville Road.
okay?
I'm 2 doors away from Frank. I have a big concern about the water as well. That water comes down, it backs up into my driveway at least 20 feet. I called the state because my answer is township can't do anything, it's a state highway. They used to come down once every year and clean the storm drain going down the road through the years with the stone and that from, snow and all that, and it builds up. It's probably built up a good 10 inches since I've been there, that the water just runs on the highway. We have tubes underneath of the driveway and so forth for the water to run down. But since they did the road down south, where they put curbs and sidewalk, so the water runs down the road until it gets to where the curbs and sidewalks is, and then it has to jot around in order to get to the storm drains. Well, the storm drains don't get cleaned, so then it just keeps backing up. And that's a bad situation. And the thing is you get a day like it's 60 out, and the water is there, it drops to 22, it's ice. And people coming down there, I've had several people that have skidded right at my house and went down and hit the pole across the street. I mean, it's just a bad, it's been a situation. It just didn't start.
Now, who would clean the swales? PennDOT would do it?
PennDOT used to come
Yeah.
out. I used to call, his gentleman's name was Wilde at the time, and we'd call him up and say, you know, could you come down? And they would send a backhoe down of some kind and just scrape the curb down so it would run better. But that's long gone. They don't ever do that anymore.
Okay, well, we can make sure the stormwater is clear, right? The stormwater drain.
We'll make a call to
And we can call
PennDOT on-
PennDOT.
See, even the highway itself, when they pave it all the time,
Yeah.
right at the edge of the road, it falls off. And I'm constantly picking up chunks of the highway so that the water will run down the road. You know, it's just through the years, it just keeps falling off because the road keeps going higher. They don't scrape the road before they repave it. So every year, or not every year, every time they pave it, it gets higher. And the old stuff that's underneath of it where they didn't get it, it just falls into the ditch. You know, other than that, what I would just want to mention for the zoning part of it is, which Mr. Kisselback said, is, well, if you do this, then you're going to have to do changes in your lot sizes. I don't want to see any variances on lot sizes, so they can put an extra house in. If it's 80-foot required, I like to see 80-foot required.
They're all over 80 foot, the
Well, I'm
front.
just saying, 80-foot wide. My house, I looked at the parcels here. My parcel goes the full 550 back. Plus, mine's a flag lot, which carries 2 other lots next to it. And as I said, the drainage, I just don't want to see the lots change to a smaller so they could squeeze in another lot. They're doing that already with the parcel down at the corner that you approved, where he's doing it in order to squeeze for him to get another lot put in there. And that was approved. Can't do nothing about it now. I mean, that's like 4 or 5 years ago, I
Yeah, that was a
believe
long
that that
time
was
ago.
approved.
If they were unsuccessful in court, the actual lots would become larger, actually, because they have one less lot. So they'd actually
That's
be-
what I'm saying.
they-
My
they-
thing is,
they
I don't
wouldn't
want
be-
them to
they wouldn't
go
the other-
smaller so they can move another
No, no,
house.
they
No,
wouldn't
no,
be
they're
able
not
to
going
do
to do
that.
that.
You know
no.
what I'm saying?
We're not going to let
No.
them do that. no.
That's what I'm looking at is, well, we can't, we got this road going down the center now. We can't do the 80 feet. We're going to take that and do it at 75 feet. So we can gain 5 feet in order to,
No, they're going to have the 80 feet that it's going to be the way it is now, or they're going to lose a lot and.
okay.
have a
The
bigger lot.
other thing is, as I say, is that if you're putting curbs and sidewalks, the curbs and sidewalks are going to go down to where Frank's house is.
Well, we're not putting curbs because that would
Okay,
include
I'm saying.
sidewalk.
The sidewalks. If you put them in, they're going to go down to Frank's house, and then they're going to stop. They're going to go from Frank's house, we'll have no curbs and sidewalks for 5 houses that are going down. So the problem is putting curbs in, if someone's coming from that development and going down to Mechanicsville Road, they still have to walk 5 lots.
Well, we're not going to
On
put
the grass.
curbs in, we're going to put.
No, I'm saying sidewalks.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I don't mean
Yeah,
curbs.
but we're going to try, I understand it, that's why sometimes we don't want to do that, because it encourages people to walk down the side of the road, but we're more concerned about it's only going to be in front of the 7 houses, and
I
then-
understand that. I agree with. But
Yeah.
I'm saying you're putting it where the 7 houses are.
Right,
Now they're going to walk south,
right,
down the 7 houses. The sidewalks are going to stop.
Right.
They're going to walk 5 properties down with no sidewalks
Yeah.
until they get to the next section where there is sidewalks from there to the corner. So I just don't want to get an added expense to me that is approving the curbs and sidewalks, and we all have to get curbs put in.
no,
You know what I'm saying?
no, sidewalks, but yeah. that-
Sidewalks. I
yeah, that
apologize
one-
for keeping.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully, that's not going to happen, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm just saying. I just wanted to voice my opinion. I don't want to see that happen, that, you know, it's going to be added to our expense to put sidewalks in from point A to point B.
No, we're not going to do that.
No, I think the goal is to take advantage of the new development in order to create a safe space, as Stacy said, for kids to wait for the bus stop and
Yeah, as I
such.
said, the water comes down.
There's
and
not a
Since
thought
they put
about-
those curbs and sidewalks down to the south of me, it made the water even worse.
Yeah, that's why we don't want to put curbs.
It didn't make it,
Just
didn't make it
sidewalks,
better.
I apologize for saying curbs. It's just, you know, they
Yeah.
kind
no, I'm
of feel
just
like they
saying,
go one and,
Since they put the curbs in, the water runs down and it can't get around. It sits there. And what I'm seeing, and somebody can go out there and look at it, where it hits up against where the curbs and sidewalks are, there's a hole for the water to go down. So it's not going into a sewer system. it's going underneath the earth. That could undermine that property. Could
Okay, well-
undermine the highway, which I think the state should look into that. But,
Okay, we're going to call PennDOT and ask them to go out and look at the site.
yeah, so you can see the hole that's in there where the water runs down, because it can't get to the sewer, to the curb. I mean, to the storm drain.
I understand.
So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to,
Hello. My name is Janet Roman. I live at 3981 Grace Avenue, and my property abuts the developer's property. Could you pass? I'm presently in litigation for my access easement, and I would like to get on record the letter from my attorney sent to Edward Rudolph and Joseph Pizzo Esquires.
yeah, we read the letter today
Yeah,
from
should
your
I,
attorney.
can I put it on record?
Well, Joe is she wants, you can read the whole letter if you want, that's fine.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not that long.
And we have copies of it, so.
We have copies
It's
of it.
already
We
a
all got
part of the
copies of it,
record,
so.
but
Okay, well, actually, it is in
here too?
It is in here, so everyone will have a copy.
Okay, it was a couple pages long, actually, the one I read was a page
No,
and a half.
2 pages.
Well, 2 pages, that's a couple, yeah.
So my grandparents bought the property in 1942. And it's
Joe,
been
this
in-
is going to court, should we litigate this now, or like, should we?
Ms. Roman obviously has the right to
Okay,
make whatever
all right.
comments
I just
she
didn't want to
wishes.
discuss
You may
court
want to
case, you
reserve
know what I mean?
comment, Mr.
But go ahead,
Knowles,
go ahead, you can go
Yeah, I
on.
just want to show a couple of pictures.
Okay, go ahead.
So obviously, it's been in the family for a long time. It's a historic property, house, along with driveway, which has been there, the driveway easement has been there for 300 years. And I'm in the process of getting the house on the National Register of Historic Places. This is what it looks like now, and that's from 1946. My grandparents, my father, sister, and my aunt, who lived on the 1-acre lot on Mechanicsville Road that presently is the R1. So I also, back in Pickering Courts in Somerset have done the survey for him, and back also in 1942, when they subdivided the 100-acre lot, they obviously kept, here's my house, here's the easement in 1942. They must have felt it was an important feature not to subdivide where the historic house was in the historic easement that had been there for almost 300 years at that point. And my grandfather, he had the sign on the front. That's why it was, the address was 3972 Mechanicsville Road. That was the entrance of the lane. And this is what the lane looks like today, still natural setting. Now, with the zoning, the property is zoned R11, and if you look in your booklet, there's I know he mentioned many of the front properties are R1, but many of the rear and to the side properties are still R11, which the R11 residential statement of purpose says that R11 districts are designed to provide low to medium density housing, et cetera. They provide for the preservation of natural resources and environmental features that are unique to each R11 district, consistent with the section of this chapter, and to provide an adequate buffer between each R11 community and the surrounding districts. R11 district recognizes the need to preserve open space and environmental resources for residents. So I am against the original lot that was my aunt's property, which was given to her when she got married in the 50s from my grandparents. And I'm not against maybe just zoning the front half where the houses are R1, along with my former aunt's property, and maintain, here he has his line of disturbance. Yeah, that's what it said. Limits of disturbance. So as we know, houses in Bensalem sell with no land. Look at Justin Circle, look at Derby Lane, which was the most recent development, and they get the high price. So I feel it's important to keep this remainder part, R11. It could be donated as preserved open space to the township. It could be subdivided right here. And the township, because I don't think it was mentioned that in the developer's plans, he's calling for an HOA. So with this sort of property, will be very expensive for all the homeowners, constantly giving into the homeowners association to maintain this. And it's also mentioned that the township would be inspecting it every year. Well, if they're going to be inspecting it, why not just donate this as preserved open space to the township? They would have access through my historic driveway easement. And otherwise, I don't really see a homeowner. They usually buy a house, you pay for the house, you pay your taxes. They're not going to be interested in a hefty HOA fee, trying to maintain the woodlands. And many homeowners do not want the responsibility of big old trees and maintaining. What if one tree on the skinny toothpick lot falls on this, or what if, it just sounds like it could lead to a lot of issues in the future, as opposed to just subdividing the front R1 and leaving the back half R11, which ties in with the whole quality to the R11 status. So yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we are going to try to preserve the back of that. It wouldn't belong to the HOA, but it would be preserved for each homeowner. Wouldn't be able to disturb the woods the last.
Right, but who's paying for the HOA?
Okay.
Mr. McHugh, is there an HOA?
Really?
Yeah, that was a comment, I think, originally. The only common elements are going to be the stormwater management controls. They're going to be owned by the individual lot owners.
So
Yeah, okay.
the lot owners will have to pay to maintain the big old trees, and
They're not going to be allowed to, there's going to be deed restrictions, not allowing them to disturb those trees.
then who maintains the trees?
Well, each homeowner would have to, yeah.
Will that be in the deed? So what if it becomes neglected? What if it becomes,
It's the
like,
same as if anybody owns the property parcel, they're not to maintain their property.
yeah, but even this, like, the shape of the toothpick.
Okay, well, listen, let's see how you do. You have representation, so, we'll have to cross that bridge, but
Okay.
Each homeowner has to maintain their property, so.
Yeah, but I knew I read in his plans about a HOA and the township coming in once a year to check on the woodlands.
Management controls have to be inspected, there's an O&M agreement associated with it. There was discussion.
Mr. McHugh, I'm sorry, you need to be on microphone.
Okay, you need to go up to the thing. Yeah, let him answer. Thank you for coming out, okay? So, and we got your attorney's letter. Appreciate you coming out. Matt, you can use that microphone there to answer, yeah.
So the HOA, there was discussion of an HOA originally. The only common devices here in this property are the stormwater controls. We spoke with the township engineer at the time. It was determined that there wasn't significant common elements, so we're going to keep it as individual on-lot requirements. Each property owner will be required to take care of and maintain their property in accordance with whatever township ordinances, whatever restrictive covenants, whatever deed covenants go along with the development.
Okay.
Well, how does that If I may ask you,
Sure.
how does that incorporate with the .1 and .2 stormwater management proposal that's being made?
So the stormwater management is designed considering the entire lot. So you look at it as one big parcel right now when it's being designed. Then when it's actually constructed, subdivision occurs, the lots are deeded out, and each homeowner will own whatever is on their lot. So when we're designing it, we're taking it into account as one large parcel. But when it's actually being implemented, there's going to be post-construction stormwater management operations maintenance plan that each homeowner is going to be responsible for if it's on their lot.
Does that make sense? I mean, wouldn't there be one retention basin in one particular lot, or a detention basin in one, and not in another?
One does straddle two lots, one of the rain gardens. And so each homeowner would maintain it, and it's really a matter of-
Okay. Oh, I understand. Okay, so the district itself would incorporate maybe several lots, and the other one would incorporate.
Correct, I think
okay.
it's 2 or 3 lots drained.
I understand. I got
Let's
it.
say to the left and others drained.
I understand.
Okay. All right, thanks for coming out. Is there, sir, you want to make a comment? And you can identify yourself for the record, so we...
Yes, sir, will.
Okay.
Good evening, council. My name is Robert Homolka, and I reside at 3213 Whitney Court in beautiful Bensalem, PA.
Whitney Court?
Whitney Court, sir.
Okay, yeah.
And currently, I'm against the project as it stands.
Okay.
As a current member and former president of the Historical Society of Bensalem, I was contacted by Ms. Roman to assist her in filing for a National Registry of Historic Places status for her historic home at 3981 Grace Avenue, which is directly behind the applicant's property. During the research process of the history of her home, some documents turned up directly impact the subdivision of the applicant's property at 4020 Mechanicsville Road. Namely, Ms. Roman appears to have an easement directly across the applicant's property. This easement is not reflected on the current subdivision plans brought before council here tonight by the applicant. In fact, Ms. Roman has filed a quiet title action complaint with Bucks County Court. As it appears, Ms. Roman has legal and historical standing concerning this easement based on the documents at hand. These documents are these maps that were created in 1983 that clearly show that there is an easement across the applicant's property here. And you had those in your handouts that Ms. Roman gave you tonight.
Okay.
These particular maps. The easement in brief is a gravel driveway often referred to as the lane or green lane by the Roman family since the 1940s, leading to their farm across the applicant's property. And the maps presented here tonight from 1983 clearly note the easement in question. There's a note right on this map that clearly states that there's an easement across this property.
Okay, but Ms. Roman has legal counsel.
Yes.
In reference to they're going to court about this.
Yes.
So
I've
we got a
already
letter
mentioned
from,
that.
excuse me?
I've already mentioned that, sir.
Okay, well, you're not her legal counsel, right?
No.
Okay, so she has legal counsel who wrote us a letter who agreed to what we're doing, and then they're going to go to court and resolve, so we can't resolve it tonight.
I'm not trying to resolve it. I'm just trying to make a point, sir. Make you aware and make points.
Okay, is there anything else?
Yes, sir. I still have more to go.
Okay, go ahead.
The easement has historic and intrinsic value to Ms. Roman, and the loss of such an easement may negatively impact the value of her property and the National Historic Registry status. But even if you put aside the historical aspects of this particular case, I find it highly prejudicial that this applicant's 144-page filing to the township never once mentioned the fact that the easement is before the Bucks County Court. So he filed 144 pages with you guys and never once mentioned that this was in court on the application. So there are 3 additional non-historical points that I'd like to make in this case. One, the court case before Bucks County Court concerning the easement must be meritorious where the presiding judge would have already thrown this out of court.
Excuse me, may I
Okay,
interrupt you
you're-
just for one moment? I mean, it's been presented to us that we know this is in court, and it's going to be litigated, and there's two positions. One is the developer and one is Ms. Roman, and that's going to be determined in court, which will then either change the proposal accordingly in favor of Ms. Roman or not. So we're aware of everything you're saying.
And
We are aware of it.
both councils already agreed to, we got a letter from Ms. Roman's legal representation saying that they agree, both councils talk for both sides. And we're aware of this. We're not denying that there's a legal battle or a legal court
I
hearing.
know, that's what I just said.
Okay, Joe, should we?
No, the only thing I would add to what you've both just said is this plan does not propose the demolition of any historic structures or potentially or structures that may potentially be placed on the National Register. The Doric Hall is not touched by this plan. The question is whether the access lane from Mechanicsville back to the property is either legally still exists as an encumbrance on the front parcel or it doesn't. Again, that's what the legal question is. The property is not otherwise landlocked. The Doric Hall property does have frontage on Grace Avenue. So this isn't a situation where you potentially could be landlocking a property. You're not. The township, when this was submitted, that easement, while it appears on a variety of legal documents, apparently, it doesn't appear on any recorded plans of the township. It didn't show up on anything that our building and planning department initially reviewed in terms of what they initially look at. So, the question is being litigated in a quiet title action in the Court of Common Pleas. And again, Ms. Roman's attorney, the applicant's attorney have both said, if Ms. Roman prevails, then this plan will have to be revised. And it's a condition of the approval that if Ms. Roman prevails, then this application has to be revised. But in answer to Mr. Kisselback's question earlier on in this hearing, there is some judicial economy, if you will, in the applicant proceeding now, because if Ms. Roman or anyone else is going to appeal from this approval, then it makes sense for all of it to be up in Common Pleas Court at the same time, as opposed to waiting until one legal appeal of this plan is resolved before a second one then gets filed. And it's of no consequence to the township one way or another, because if Ms. Roman prevails in the lawsuit, then the condition of approval, again, assuming you all approve it, is that the plan isn't going to be recorded and developer agreements aren't going to be signed by the township. So no one will have the legal opportunity or the legal right to put a shovel in dirt, to take a tree down, to do anything until that lawsuit is resolved.
Well said. I think the best course of action tonight is to wait for the court ruling on this particular case. And why risk any possible future lawsuits against the township by either party by approving anything tonight?
Well, we were writing from both parties if they're okay with this. That's okay. I appreciate your.
So therefore, in my opinion, this council must deny this applicant any preliminary or final subdivision of this property at 4020 Mechanicsville until a decision is rendered by the court. In addition, I'm formally requesting a roll call vote from council for the record, should there be a vote taken here tonight.
You said, what did you say?
A roll call vote.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I understand.
Mr. Malika, you said you're from the Historical Society?
Yes, I'm a current member, and I'm a former president and vice president of the Historical Society, Bensalem.
Okay, thank you. And you said that this could compromise the historical standing for this property?
She has
for Ms.
filed for a
Roman?
registry status, and she has currently is about halfway through the process. She has what's called a blue card from the state, and the original paperwork filed was with the lane included. If this lane or driveway is not included, she may have to refile her paperwork and start over again with the state.
Okay, but that's not going to compromise her property being what we're seeing in the newer versions of this. It's not going to compromise
If the court
her being
decides-
able to.
Michelle, if the court decides, correct me in a moment, if the court decides she has the lane, then she'll have the lane, so you won't have to refile.
Sure.
But if the court decides, if Bucks County Court decides she doesn't have the lane, then she doesn't have the lane.
Right.
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't-
So then, it's separate from the historical quality of her house.
Yes, but what I'm saying is the paperwork was filed some time ago when the lane was,
You have to do review.
There, you
Right.
can't just do an amendment too?
it's,
I'm
But she'll
curious
have
because
to
it's
do
a
that if she
historical-
loses the lawsuit in any event.
that's correct.
Yeah, we'll all-
So what you do here has no effect on that.
Right. No, I completely understand that. I'm just,
Do you have any other points? We appreciate you coming out.
So I heard tonight that there was a comment made about putting a deed restriction on future homeowners concerning the property line in the back of the property. You, Mr. Kisselback, I believe, offered 200 feet as a buffer zone that would not be disturbed. Is that true, sir?
Yes.
And the applicant's going to amend this application to state that, because it currently says none on item 7 or page 2 of the
Well,
application.
if we make that part of our motion and he agrees to it, then we'll be fine.
Okay,
Anything we put in the motion, they'll have to agree to.
very good, sir. That's what I have tonight, sir.
Okay, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anybody else? If not, we're going to close public comment on this. Anybody have any questions from the engineers? Okay, does anybody want to make a motion in reference to,
I'll make a motion. I'll take it on, Joe, if you don't mind. First of all, I'll make a motion for agenda item number 6, and that's in reference to the changing of the zoning from R11 to R1 in the presentation that was made to us in the display that were presented today and were presented to us for our consideration. And so I'd first make a motion that we change the zoning from R11 to R1 on the approximate 6 acres of, on Mechanicsville Road.
okay, is there a second to that motion?
Let me put it this way, Joe. I'll give you the tax map parcel if you don't mind, which is 02-033-078-002. That's specific.
Okay, so we're going to vote on that first, the zoning change. Okay, so is there a second? Mr. Flaherty, second the motion. All in favor of changing the zoning from R11 to R1, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay, so that's 5. Okay, Mr. Kisselback, you want to continue the motion?
I'll also continue on agenda item number 7, which is a preliminary and final land subdivision. Should be a subdivision and land development?
Yes.
Yeah, it's marked, okay, that's what I thought. It's marked improperly, but it would be that, exactly right. Okay, so on that, a preliminary and final land development, and as well as subdivision, and that's on, again, 2 properties, tax map parcel 02-033-077-033-078-002. I'm assuming that these 2 tax map parcels will be consolidated and recorded up in Doylestown. Is that correct, Mr. Pizzo?
Yes, one of the conditions of approval I'm sure that you will include, Mr. Kisselback, is just that the lots would be consolidated and then re-subdivided as proposed on the land development plan, Deeds for the newly created lots will be submitted to the township solicitor and the township engineer for their review and approval, and will be recorded contemporaneously with the recording of the record plan for the site, assuming that a record plan is recorded in the Office of the Recorder of Deeds of Bucks County.
Okay, and so that's what I'm doing. With that being said, tonight, since I'm asking for approval of this, it would all be contingent upon the decision of the courts to approve this plan as presented to us. If it's a change in the court decision to include the easement, then the applicant will have to come back to us and resubmit a new subdivision land development plan in agreement with our solicitor.
Yep, that's agreeable.
Okay, that's number one. Okay, number two, with that, there's a few items that I'd like to go over and bring up to our attention in terms of, I don't believe the zoning was recorded in text in T&M Memorandum, and this is dated November 10th, 2021. Within that, basically, there are no changes in the zoning ordinance when it comes to the Chapter D, 201 subdivision land development. Basically, I'm just gonna go through my notes, and then we'll take it from there, which is basically the 50% of the trees will not be disturbed, which will be a 200-foot buffer from the rear of the property to the extending to Mechanicsville Road that will not be disturbed, that will be kept in a vegetational state. We would like to have the sidewalks be part of the development, as well as the curbs will be
I believe
waivered.
the waiver of the
There would
curbs.
be waived the curbs, and that would be a payment paid to the township in lieu of. There would be a recreational fee, I believe it's $2,000 per lot, as well as an impact fee that's been agreed to be paid on. That would be paid when the permits are issued to the developer. There would be the condition, as I said, is based on this easement litigation, and this is by the courts, and this would be approved by our solicitor, and this would be the condition of being the appeal of the developer, and then we would, again, create a new subdivision land development presented to township at a later date, based on a court decision. And as I said, the plan will be recorded afterwards in the court, and I don't have any waivers, other than the one I had.
Just the curb was the only waiver. We're
That's the only
removing
one
our
that I
request
had
on the
put down there,
sidewalk.
and that would be my motion as it stands. Joe, is there anything you need to legalize?
We'll comply with the review letters.
Yeah, that's agreeable to us.
Okay, that's part of the motion.
Okay, so Mr. Kisselback has a motion which includes the 200 undisturbed in the rear of the property for the trees to stay where they are. Mr. Larry seconded the motion.
I would put that in there.
We'll do this by roll call, if that's not too much of a problem. Mr. All in favor, Mr. Kisselback?
I vote yes.
Okay, Mr. Clary?
They're the ones who
Okay, I'm yes. Ms. Rita, you're an aye, and
Aye.
aye. Okay, so five.
Yeah, I don't think it's restricted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
They're gonna put deed restricted on it.
Great, thank you.
Deed restricted, so they can't cut the trees down. I'll tell them later. Yeah, you don't mean to have an intent that they can't use the 200 feet.
Not at all. No, not at all. No, it's just, no, it's just that they have to keep
They can't build it.
Sorry to disappoint.
It wasn't disappointing, was it?
Good, how are you? No easement issues here, promise.
Look at that mess. That mess up there.
Okay, how you doing? Good evening.
Doing well.
Some of the Boy Scouts are, the leaders are back there still. Some of the Boy Scouts left, but the leaders are still out there, setting a good example for the troops. Okay, Mr. Kisma, take. Okay, we'll be in with you in a minute, okay?
Mr. Knowles, while we're waiting for Mr. Kissel back, so that the public is aware, we've been advised that apparently our video feed on Verizon is not functioning. So anyone who's watching on Verizon this evening is getting audio but not video.
Okay.
Comcast is unaffected, live stream is unaffected, but 5G. They're not otherwise able to see the proceedings this evening.
And we'll
Township is aware.
And then, Phil, you wrote that down for the gentleman to call PECO, PennDOT, to look at the swale.
You never knew that was there.
Yeah, that's a swale.
So,
It
Mr.
feels
Knowles,
like a swale or a ditch on the side.
before this gets underway, this is, again, the next two items, or it's one item on your agenda, but it's a combination of a preliminary and final land development. It's also a conditional use hearing as well. So it's one agenda item, it's one hearing, but you'll be asked again to vote to grant the conditional use as well as the preliminary and final, if council collectively is of a mind to do so.
Okay, so there'll be two votes on that.
Yes.
Okay, if we're ready to go, you ready? Okay. Okay, number 8 on the agenda, consideration of conditional use, as Mr. Pizzo just advised, for a self-storage building and preliminary and final land improvement for industrial investments, Willow Grove Storage, 4151 Street Road. Can you introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, good evening. Joe Blackburn from Whistler Pearlstein here on behalf of the applicant. I'm joined by the project engineer, Rob Cunningham. I'll be happy to proceed. I don't know if Mr. Pizzo has any exhibits he'd like to enter for the conditional use component, but if not, I'm happy to charge forward.
Mr.
Very
Pizzo, is
good.
there anything you need, or?
No, not at this juncture.
Very good. And I promise no easements are at issue with this application.
We
So,
hope not.
The notice is,
The notice is to the, that's all.
This was submitted electronically, notice from Holmes Cunningham dated January 28th, 2022.
very good.
We can mark that as an exhibit if it please.
Thank you.
Good evening, Joe Blackburn on behalf of the applicants, Industrial Investments, Inc. With respect to the application concerning the property located at 4151 East Street Road. The subject property is currently zoned HC1 Highway Commercial and consists of just under 2 acres in area. The property is presently improved with a long vacant but existing industrial structure with some associated accessory structures in the front and a residential structure, single-family detached dwelling in the rear. I would note that there are two parcels that are the subject of this application. Applicant proposes, as a part of tonight's application, to demolish all those structures and in their place construct an approximately 39,000 square foot self-storage facility, 3 stories tall. All self-storage would be contained inside, climate controlled, no garage door, bay windows, anything of that nature. We do have some illustrations that will show you to depict that. But your self-storage of today is no longer your sprawling field of single-story pulling garages. It is has very much the look of an office building, which you'll see momentarily. In furtherance of that effort, the applicant appeared before your zoning hearing board in July of last year to receive a number of items of relief, which the zoning hearing board did favorably grant. Thereafter, we appeared before the Planning Commission at its November meeting, at which time the Planning Commission unanimously recommended the grant of both conditional use as well as preliminary and final land development, along with all associated waivers therewith, which we'll touch on, will probably bleed into the land development a little bit. With respect to the conditional use, however, there are two use-specific criteria that the ordinance sets forth in order to be entitled to the conditional use approval. Both of those were the subject of variance requests, however, the first of which is to permit the property to be located on less than 5 acres in area. Again, I think that's probably a vestige from your old sprawling, single-floor, pull-in, self-storage facilities. Now they are integrated, vertical, able to be accommodated on much smaller than a 5-acre parcel. That was one of the items of relief. That is also one of the conditional use criteria. The second of which had to do with the hours of operation. We extended them 1 hour earlier and 1 hour later from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. So with satisfying those two criteria, we've demonstrated or would demonstrate compliance with the lone use-specific conditional use criteria. We are also in receipt of the T&M review letter dated February 8th, 2022. I'm pleased to report that all the items contained in there will comply, with the exceptions of the waivers, which I'm happy to run through very briefly. If it please, I'll take my direction from the board if you'd like to push that to the land development or...
That's okay. So you discussed that you're basically the size of the building, and then all the zoning variants were received that you needed, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And then, so on page 2 of the T&M report, it lists 5 items that you need waivers on, right?
That's
Is that
correct.
Okay, so the first one is street trees to be planted by developer along the street. Suitable street trees do not exist, okay? So you want a waiver for that?
Yes, and just to be clear, we're not seeking a waiver to reduce the number of street trees. It's the interval at which they need to be planted. They're required to be planted 20 feet apart, and due to some existing utility lines, we're not able to accommodate that spacing. So it's exclusively for the spacing of those trees. All the street trees will be planted. It's not a number of trees issue.
So the number, and that's fine. I mean, for me anyway, it's fine. But so the number of trees, you don't need a variance, or you don't need to pay for trees that you're not able to plant.
That's correct.
They have the correct amount of trees? Okay, so that's just the spacing or and you agree with that, right, Phil?
Yes.
Okay. And then number 2 requires sidewalks along Street Road, which you probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I think candidly, this is a situation where we probably want to discourage
dangerous,
pedestrian traffic, so.
It wouldn't recommend that, right? Okay, so, and they're required to pay in lieu of for sidewalks on this kind of development, or?
Generally, that's at the discretion of the board, but we usually request a fee in lieu of.
Okay, so.
For any waivers.
Okay, so we gave you that waiver where you agree to pay fee in lieu of for the sidewalk?
We'll certainly work with to form a number with Mr. Worcester's office, yes.
Okay, and then number 3 requires a planting strip on an average width of 10 feet, minimum width of 7 feet, shall be provided to the edge of the parking area and outside walls of your building.
Yeah, and we'll actually switch to the plan itself. Yes, you can see the drive aisle immediately abuts the building along the eastern and northern boundaries. So it's drive aisles are included within the definition of parking areas. So it's for those areas that we would be seeking that waiver.
Now, is there, for lack of a better word, is there car stoppers or some kind of stoppage where?
Well, this is a fire lane, and we do have inside parking being accessed from that. So certainly not in this area, but there's no parking contemplated as going towards. Again, it's purely a function of the drive aisle, the fire lane being included in the definition of parking area. So it's not parking spaces itself that are butting up against the property.
Yeah, we don't see the need for bollards, if that's what you're...
Okay, there's no need for that? Okay, so that truck, I can't see from here too well, but that truck in the picture below isn't against that property. From here, it looks like that's against the brick wall.
Well, in this, it is, yes. So this is illustrative of the building itself, but not necessarily our layout, so.
Okay, okay.
Good question.
Yeah,
I thought maybe I was seeing things. It looked like a truck and it looked like it was next to the wall.
No, fair point. I apologize for not clarifying. And as I alluded to, this is another location which was just opened up, which would be fairly representative of
the general
building.
look of it, but not here. Okay.
Correct.
And can a car turn around in that lane?
Well, they have the rear area to turn around, so. if you
So
were
they go
coming
up
down-
around and turn around there?
Correct, and the primary access for this lane would be to access the interior loading bays for the cars, or loading bays probably gives a more nefarious term, the interior parking spaces to unload your stuff. So you would be principally pulling in here and then backing out and coming out. But if you did find yourself in the rear of the property, there'd be ample room to turn around.
So there are like 6 bays, I don't have it in front of me, but
That's
I
correct.
think like 6 bays, is it? So when you go in, you park in there, and then how do you get this stuff to the bins, or whatever you call that?
It's, well, interior elevators, there's, it's a loading area or an unloading area rather, where you would come in, be able to shield yourself from the elements in doing so.
And that would accommodate a fire truck going in there and accessing that if there's a problem?
The drive aisle, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So are those spots, are they underneath, or is there a door that you open to get to those spots? Or, are they built into the building? Just trying to understand.
They would be open, there would be no garage door look.
So there would be
if you will.
flooring above them, or it's just going to be straight up open?
It
Okay.
would be flooring above them, it would be the first floor, 3-story building, so the second and third story would be
Would be
above
over
them.
top of them?
Correct.
Okay, because it's hard to visualize that from that.
And then the inside of the units where you store stuff, is that climate controlled all of them?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
so-
the entire structure, all inside, all climate-controlled units, yes.
How many units?
I don't know that we have that figure yet.
It could change depending on the size.
Microphone, please.
You got to come up here if you're going to speak in reference, introduce yourself.
It would be 900 to 1,000 square feet per unit, so you can, oh, I'm sorry, 900 to 1,000 units, I apologize, contemplated maximum for a building of this size.
And how many parking spaces will you have available?
We have 7 designated parking spaces in the front and then the six loading bays. Incredibly low traffic, low volume. I don't know if you're anything like me, I've been to my storage locker maybe once a year. So this is not an in and out daily traffic generator.
So what is the traffic volume daily?
Rob, do we have a estimate figures for?
But you got to come up and you were going to speak.
Yeah.
Reference, introduce yourself.
I would, before, I would add that we're not seeking any parking relief. The parking is in compliance with what zoning would require for this use.
Okay.
The traffic generated
Okay,
by...
what is your name and?
I'm sorry. Robert Cunningham with Holmes Cunningham Engineering. The traffic generated by the self-storage use is significantly less than when it was an industrial facility. So it's a reduction in traffic. We understand the kind of location where it is on Street Road. We thought that this was the appropriate use from a traffic standpoint for this site due to its low volume of traffic.
Sure, my question was regarding the parking, and I understand that it's within means, but 7 parking spots, one of them is an ADA spot, right? That's all that you have? How many employees are in the building at a time?
There's a maximum of 2 employees in the building at a time. The spots in the front are for, new patrons. Excuse me. And according to CubeSmart, they actually only need 2 additional spaces. So they'd only need 4 spaces in the front. And then the 6 loading spaces is all that they need. There's only 2 elevator shafts, and to run 2 elevators, the most you would need is 6 loading spaces.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the number 4 is except that the entrance and exit drives, all parking areas are set back from future right-of-way lines, all property lines by at least 15 feet, so you need a waiver for that?
Yeah, and again, that's a function of the classification of the drive aisles as a parking area, particularly from the turnpike. The right-of-way for the turnpike extends into the property, and as you can see, we do have some of that turnaround area.
From the turnpike,
From the
right away.
turnpike, yes.
Okay.
Did you say you have 4 parking spaces up front? I have to back up. Is that what you said?
7.
There are 7 spaces in the front of the property.
There are 7, okay.
And there are 6 loading bays. So,
7.
as Mr. Cunningham alluded
So
to,
it's
the
13.
front 7 would be principally for signing up, if you will, and then the loading bays would be for your
In and out.
in and out.
Right, and you don't get that much in and out, is what you're saying? for that.
Minimal traffic.
Minimal traffic. Okay, and then number 5 is requires a retention basin to be designed using TR55 method. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
That waiver's, it's a common one for small sites, especially when PennDOT's involved, like this one will be. So that's perfectly fine by our standards.
to comply with anything PennDOT requires?
Yes, they'll need a PennDOT highway occupancy permit, which they know about. it'll be it's already, it'll be a condition, and part of the will comply.
All 5 of these, you're okay with?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on it a little bit more, Phil? I hate to take your time, but what is that DeKalb method? I never,
The township has a requirement for something called the T55, I believe it's called, TR55, which is a method of determining what the runoff is and how to store it. So as far as using that method, using a smaller method might determine that you have less area to store, so you'd use it in like a small lot type of environment, which is what they're proposing. Our method has something where you would, if you use that, it would make you have larger basins than you really need. So we use that for larger types of projects, more than one lot, over 5 acres, things like that. So this is a common one. This is what PennDOT requires as well with regard to their stormwater runoff, and that's pretty much what this whole area is PennDOT. So it's appropriate for them to use that. It's not a lesser, I don't want to say it's a lesser type of a stormwater management program, but it's a little bit more lenient with regard to small lots.
Okay.
It's best I could describe it.
Yeah, and then we're going to look at the pre and post stormwater, which looks like the numbers are pretty.
Same, and every one of these stormwater, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of stormwater management equations and software to use. They all pretty much do the same thing, that you have to reduce the runoff, make equal or reduce the runoff from the site based upon the previous site.
I have a comment. On page 2 of the items, number 6, the very first item, the chain link fencing throughout the site, is that to keep people out, to just walk, to go onto the property? So you would have a key card to go on?
That is an existing condition. I believe you're talking about the very first line of page 2.
Yes, the very first line of page 2.
That's a continuation of the existing condition on the site, the features identified there now.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I wanted to be...
That'll be upgraded. I mean, there is certainly a security concern, but it's not going to be the chain.
It won't be a chain link fence because, I mean, PennDOT is doing so much work there. You don't want to see an ugly chain link fence. It's a small spot, but you don't want to be driving down into all this nice road,
Correct.
hopefully one day, and then you see an ugly chain link fence. So thinking more something, where those black, where they have the things where people can't climb over.
So you're doing a privacy type fence on that area?
There'll be no fence. The only proposal is an optional gate, and which would be a black steel gate that would allow cars in. That's obviously just to prevent people who are not patrons from accessing the back. But we don't need to fence the whole thing because all the storage is contained inside. There's no outside storage. So there's no need to spend the money on a gate and kind of obviously not make it look nice. So it would just be the optional gate.
Then I have one more comment. I know that you had said of the 5 acres, and I understand that there's a lot of property around it that's kind of been taken either by PennDOT or is in discussion or what have you that may have come through during the zoning. I didn't get a chance to read the minutes. I could not find them. But that lot next to the off-ramp there, will that maintain open space? I know it's not part of your lot, or I'm concerned about the impervious surface and then the water runoff, and then how is that going to play into the future?
The applicant does own this lot as well.
Okay.
You probably can't see it from there, but there is a 15-foot wide lot that separates these 2 lots from that lot, however, which prevent us from incorporating that into this project. I can't say it will remain open space in perpetuity, but it is not contemplated in any way with respect to the instant project. It will remain a vacant lot for the time being.
Okay.
What's the zoning on that lot?
No, it's the current.
The neighboring lot?
He owns it.
He owns it. So, okay, then they would have to do some sort of easement then, because looking at that, it looks like the ramp is going right in front of part of it from here. So I'm just concerned that we're going to have more impervious surface coverage and then, a lot of issue pushing into a small space.
The reason it's not, I'm sorry.
Did PennDOT have an easement on that piece of the property?
I promised we weren't going to talk about easements, but no.
Apologize.
I'll let the engineer speak to
It's
that.
not a legal dispute.
It is in an easement. PennDOT owns the property between the two properties. So there's no way, and we've had discussions originally to incorporate it, but PennDOT has no interest in selling it. It's our understanding that maybe the water line that services the interchange goes through that area. So they are not open to discussing anything with that property. So these two properties would be separated forever unless PennDOT decided to sell it.
Mr. President, we spoke with PennDOT as well during this process, and it was just, you would have to move the earth to get an easement released from them with regard to this. So it was next to impossible. And all they had to know was there's a potential water line in there. Said, well, we're just going to keep it.
Okay.
So,
we'll keep it, it'll be just open ground for now.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then, yeah, I just want to finish this, you okay?
Yeah, fine, I just, since you're on that page, I didn't want to.
That's good. Okay, so the next page is conditional use review. Are these all accepted with the other things?
Are they, I'm sorry?
On C, under C.
Yes. So you have the use-specific criteria, which I mentioned at the outset, as well as the general conditional use criteria, which, correct.
After this, you have, under the zoning, all these comments have been addressed, right? So everything else has been addressed under the zoning.
All will comply, yes.
All will comply. And then you get to the, and they're all will comply. And then you get to the stormwater, so still you have the two stormwater studies. So the stormwater looks like it's being reduced significantly from its current to this. Want to address that for a second?
Sure. Most of the stormwater from the site discharges into Street Road. So we're installing a subsurface basin under the parking lot in the front, which is going to capture most of the stormwater off the building and discharge it, again, into the Street Road right of way. And that's a significant reduction in the 100-year storm. We're going from 10.77 CFS down to 3.85. So, obviously, we're sensitive to the drainage problems that everybody's experiencing. So.
This isn't, I'll speak to the other gentleman if you don't mind. This isn't the first facility you run of this kind? This is,
That's correct.
Okay, so you have other facilities like this?
Yes.
Yeah, you have other facilities like this that you run, these interiors, temperature-controlled facilities?
The applicant, excuse me, yes, not me personally.
The applicant?
Yes.
Right, okay. Okay, is there any other questions from any of the council people?
Yeah, on number 21.
Yes.
I don't know what you're at, which is subdivision.
Yeah, you pretty much just, go ahead.
Yeah, well,
21.
I assume that they're requesting a waiver on the sidewalks.
Yes, that's
Yeah, we
correct.
did say that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Missed that.
mentioned they're
Okay.
going to pay in lieu of, they're willing to do that, yeah. Okay, and then, okay, as far as the fire rescue department, okay, the turning around design, because this is like a letter, but it doesn't really say that, I'm sure that you're complying with any requirement of the fire marshal. Is that correct, Phil, as far as?
Yes, that's one of the, of all the letters, all three letters will comply from the app.
Okay, because it didn't really say that in the letter, so.
Oh, no, yes, you're right.
Okay, okay, so we have a conditional use and preliminary and final review. Is there anybody from the audience who wants to speak for or against this project? Okay, seeing no one come forward, okay, unless there's any questions from the, Mr. Pizzo has a question.
I have no question, just some housekeeping. The notice to adjacent property owners that was referenced at the outset of the hearing can be marked as Hearing Exhibit 1. The the application of the applicant for preliminary and final land development and conditional use can be marked as Hearing Exhibit 2. The T&M Engineering Review Memorandum prepared by Russell G. Benner, dated February 8, 2022, and consisting of 10 pages can be Exhibit 3. The 15-page plan set for this application, submitted with the application, and prepared by Holmes Cunningham LLC of Doylestown, Pennsylvania, will be Exhibit 4. The Traffic Engineer Review Memorandum prepared by William Zavadrit of TPD, dated February 3rd, 2022, consisting of 2 pages, will be Exhibit 5. The Bucks County Planning Commission Review Memorandum, dated October 19, 2021, consisting of 3 pages, will be Exhibit 6. The Bensalem Fire Rescue Review Memorandum of September 22nd, 2021, consisting of 2 pages, will be Exhibit 7. Bensalem Township Police Department Traffic Safety Evaluation, dated September 23, 2021, will be Exhibit 8. And the Bensalem Environmental Advisory Board minutes of November 16, 2021, as they pertain to this application, will be Exhibit 9.
We'll include the 9 exhibits by Mr. Byberry's point out there.
Yes, inasmuch as this is a conditional use hearing, which is by definition a zoning process, it's performed by the Township Council. The exhibits need to be made a specific part of the record.
On both votes or just the first vote?
Just for the conditional use.
Okay, so we need a motion for first the conditional use, that we accept the conditional use as presented. Someone wants to make that motion?
Conditional use. All right, I'll include it. I wasn't prepared to, but I'll do conditional use to be accepted by the Bensalem Township. Do you need to have anyone come forward and speak on behalf of this conditional use, Mr. Pizzo?
No, again, at the outset, we announced that this was a single hearing for both the conditional use and for the preliminary and final land development. So the presentation for the conditional use at this point, the hearing has been convened. The applicant has presented its evidence. There have been questions from the board. The exhibits have been marked and put in the evidence. The public has had an opportunity to comment. So all that remains is for the council to go ahead and move and second and then vote on conditional use approval.
Okay, I wasn't sure about the public comment. That was my question. Okay, so it'll be approved based on the exhibits that were presented by Solicitor Pizzo, as well as all the conditions you just mentioned, aforementioned just a moment ago. And I ask that we approve the conditional use of the Industrial Investment Incorporated Willow Grove Storage LP, 4151 Street Road, tax map parcel 02-001-014-02-001-016.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second. Larry? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay, so conditional use is approved. Is there a motion for the approval of the self-storage building for preliminary and final?
I'll make the motion. I wasn't taking notes, but I'll make the motion on this also, that we approve the preliminary and final development of the same said Industrial Investment Incorporated, the same tax map parcel that I just mentioned, which is 02-001-014 and 02-001-016. I would assume, as we said earlier, that this the tax map parcels will be consolidated and recorded up in Doylestown, approved by our solicitor. Any other strategy you have to mention on that, Mr. Pizzo?
No. As you said, Mr. Kisselback, the lots will be consolidated. A new deed for the property will be submitted to the township engineer and township solicitor.
We have the 5 waivers and with the sidewalks being paid in lieu of.
Okay, there I am right now.
And the new
Okay,
deed
cool.
will be recorded prior to or contemporaneous with the recording of the record plan.
Okay, we have number one. Number two, with the letter from, I guess, addressed from Ken Farrell, which is our Director of Director of Building and Planning, his November 17th letter relative to the waivers that were requested.
Mr. Call's Waterfront.
We okay?
I'm sorry, yeah, we were discussing, sorry.
Okay, well, anyway, we request and would like to grant waivers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as described in this letter. Is there anything else, Mr.?
No, just to mention that the sidewalks on number 2, we are willing to pay in lieu of for sidewalks.
The applicant is requesting a waiver from providing sidewalks. There is no existing planned sidewalks, and you're going to be paying the fee in lieu of. Okay, thanks, John.
Okay. And then the 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. date, that's something that was already added.
That was the zoning.
That was the zoning.
That's a condition of
right, right,
zoning
okay.
approval, that's correct.
Phil, got anything to
Again,
add?
just will comply with all the township engineering review letters.
Right, exactly. Okay, so Mr. Kisselback made it
Trying
first.
to make your money over there, Phil, right? Making
Yeah.
sure you include it?
We have a second on the motion for approval?
Second.
Okay. You gotta get quicker, Steve. All right, so,
Have a space, so that's no problem.
I'm fine.
all right, so, Mr.
You're sitting
Kisselback,
back, relax today. If
Mr.
you- if you're
Polari?
not, Think you're faster than him, right, Joe?
Yeah. Okay, so we have Mr. Kisselback and Mr. Polari first and second. All in favor for the preliminary and final for industrial investments, Willow Grove, 4151 Street Road, say aye. Aye. Any against? Okay, that's good. Thank you. Good
Thank you very
luck.
much. Have a good
Okay.
evening.
Listen, we have agenda item number 9 coming up for Tom Snyder. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll be back in 5 minutes to handle that.
Okay.
You ready? I really enjoy spending Valentine's night with you guys, but you know, still this Valentine's. Yeah. We'll ask you if you have any comments at the end, Joe. We'll see. Okay, consideration preliminary subdivision of Thomas Snyder, 2289 Green Avenue. Mr. McGinnis, are you representing the?
I am,
applicant?
yes.
Okay.
Good evening. Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin here on behalf of Tom Snyder. And is the screen working? I heard comment when I was outside. We can plug in and put the plan on the flash drive. We also have a physical copy for council.
I think that's working. It's more, it was Verizon that wasn't working.
Okay,
Yeah.
Verizon.
It was Verizon that wasn't working.
Got it.
The picture of Verizon.
We do have it, yeah.
Yeah, if you can put it up, that'd be great.
Yeah, everybody can see the TV.
Yeah, we will.
Thousands of people that are watching this.
That have hung with us all night.
Oh, yeah, they're not,
They're brave souls.
why celebrate Valentine's Day when you can
No, I
watch this, you know?
figured this was the Valentine's Day.
It's a gift,
The
gift to the
spouses are
community.
hanging out watching after dinner. All right. Perfect. Okay. Good evening. As I said, Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin here on behalf of Tom Snyder. The subject property is 2289 Green Avenue, and the parcel ID is 2-39-104.
Okay.
This is located in the R2 district, and it's a what I'll label to be an irregularly shaped 1 acre site. You can sort of see it's kind of a backwards L, and the site is presently improved. If you look at the property located on the, what I'm going to label to be the southeast corner of the site, with a detached dwelling and a garage, which would remain as part of this plan. This is a 4-lot subdivision, and we are planning on constructing single-family detached dwellings on the other 3 lots, which would be created. Just as a note, because we're always mindful of this from a density standpoint, the lots that we're proposing are less dense and larger than many of the lots in the surrounding area. The minimum square footage from a zoning standpoint in this district is 7,500 square feet, and we're proposing essentially lots that are 20% larger than what would be the minimum allowed. So this isn't a situation where we went to the zoning hearing board to try to cram in an extra house and to get relief to really maximize the build out. We think these are very reasonably shaped lots with reasonably sized houses and are permitted and consistent with the surrounding area and the zoning district. What we have, for the purposes of identification tonight, I'll be labeling the lot on the southeast as Lot 4, and then we have Lot 3, if you look at this, takes access off of Green Avenue, which is the lot right above Lot 4, and then Lot 1 and 2 from McKinley Avenue. We appeared in front of the Planning Commission and received a recommendation for approval, and I'll have John Richardson, who's with me from DUMAC, just address. There was a comment or two at the Planning Commission raised by T&M that we have incorporated into this plan. We have only a couple of waivers, which we'll get into, requiring not to require sidewalks because there are no sidewalks in this area, and we are agreeable to pay a fee in lieu with respect to sidewalk installation. And then we have waivers with request to cartway widening and curbing. We are doing some of that here, and I'll have John detail where and what was discussed at the Planning Commission, just so that's transparent. Everything else in the review letters is a will comply. My client, Tom Snyder, is here. He has built houses in the township previously. He would like to continue to build houses in the township for the next 30 years, hopefully, so is committed to delivering a good product. And with that, I would just turn it over briefly to have John kind of do a little bit of a walkthrough, and then certainly if you'd like to hear from Tom, he's happy to address council directly. So thank you.
Good evening. Just a little overview that Mr. McGinnis didn't hit on. The site drains to the northwest corner. There's a little bit of Green Street that kind of runs away from Wine, but the majority of the drainage in the area drains away from Wine towards the predominant northwest corner. As part of the development, we're proposing 3 underground dry wells, which are stone pits underground where the water will be directed and will infiltrate in. There is an existing storm line that runs down McKinley. The proposed dry wells will tie into that existing storm line. At the Planning Commission, the representative from TNM had said that while at the time we were asking for a full waiver of sidewalk, curb, and street widening, he was concerned in regard to McKinley specifically. He asked that along McKinley, we do the street widening, the curb, and the sidewalk. And then the other specific item that he had brought up was at the intersection of Green and Wine. The curb, the intersection there and the radius of that turn was a little wonky. He asked that we straighten that out and put curb, both of which we have done and are shown on this plan. So at the intersection of Green and Wine, we have straightened out the radius there and put in curbing. And along McKinley, along our frontage, we are doing road widening, curb, and sidewalk. As part of the curb along McKinley, the drainage is such that we're proposing to place several inlets along the existing storm line there. Once you put in the curb, you channelize the water. You got to let it go somewhere. So as part of the condition at planning that we put in the curb, sidewalk, and road widening, we're going to be upgrading the stormwater there slightly. As part of the land development, we'll be doing some landscaping. There is a section of woods in this area that we're proposing to maintain. And additionally, the area closest to Green, there's some invasive species in there. We'll be going in there and tearing out those invasive species.
Okay, and then on McKinley, so you're putting curbs and sidewalks on the 2 frontages on McKinley?
Correct.
Okay, and then do you have, do the curbs, can the water that goes against the curbs go somewhere?
So along McKinley there's an existing storm line, and we're actually proposing to tie into that existing storm line with several inlets along that curb line.
Okay, and then you're just putting a curb at the radius to the existing property on the corner?
Correct, so it would just be a little taper on each end and just along the radius.
Okay, and that's a corner property, so that actually has 2 front yards, so you're doing curbs and sidewalks for what, in lieu of for both?
Correct, so
Both
we're
fronts?
currently asking for waivers
That's
and
not
fee-
curbed, yeah.
Correct, for waivers and fee in lieu of along Wine and Green, with the exception of that little piece of tangent.
So the answer is yes. That whole area that's not improved, we're agreeable to pay a fee in lieu for that entire strip.
Except for the curb on the corner and then the curbs and the sidewalk on the
Exactly.
Okay. And then the curb that goes on the corner, when water hits that, does that have somewhere to go?
Yes, sir.
That's kind of almost at the high point. The drainage is kind of coming down from that intersection, so the water on that curb, and it's not very long, will just sheet in either direction.
Okay.
And that is the area on the site plan that's presently approved as it's currently situated. Anyway, if you look at the site, it's odd in that the single-family dwelling and the garage are right to the front at that intersection or the bend between Wine and Green, and then you have an entirely unimproved, kind of strange, large side and rear yard.
And I'm sorry, I missed it in the beginning, but you said McKinley, you decided to do sidewalks and curbs along there. Was that at the suggestion of one of our engineers, one of our boards, or one of the neighbors?
It came up at the Planning Commission.
Oh,
It was
Planning Commission,
it was suggested or strongly suggested by TNM.
Okay, and T&M too. Okay, all right, thank you.
And then
In that same conversation, he said that was really the only area where he was concerned in regard to the street widening, the curb and sidewalk, and
Okay.
the little corner piece that we're proposing down at the intersection.
Okay. All right, anything else, or?
No, everything else is a will comply. The waivers are what's identified in,
Okay, so so you have the TMM letter that's dated, I have February 1st, right?
that's
the one
correct,
you're
that's the
working off?
same that we have, yes.
Okay, and then, so under D, under subdivision land, so they're all will complies on the front?
Correct. Everything is a will comply all the way up to comments 19 and 20, which is where the waivers are addressed.
Okay, and then what, besides the curbs and sidewalks, what other waivers are you asking for?
So it's the partial for the street widening. So basically, there's partial waivers with respect to the curbing, sidewalks, and then the cartway widening. And then the only other item that I think would be worth bringing up from a housekeeping standpoint is in comment 20 in T&M's letter, which deals with sidewalks, there's a statement that says, I'll just read this. If a waiver is granted, applicants shall pay a fee in lieu of sidewalk installation, which we're agreeable to. There are no existing sidewalks in the vicinity of the site.
Right.
And then it says Saldo section 201-111B states there shall be a minimum 4-foot wide planting strip between the curb and the sidewalk. And that is part of a section that we're asking for a waiver from 201-111 anyway, but just in the interest of clarity, I'll have John address that, but that would be, as part of the waiver request, that would be the only other waiver request. It's in that section, but it's 201-111B as well for the planting strip there.
So that comment is in regard to this area along here. And with the current right-of-way that we're proposing to offer for dedication, there's not enough room for the sidewalk to be set 4 feet back from the curb. And in our opinion, the road there is not heavily traveled. There's currently an isolated piece of sidewalk. Pushing the sidewalk even further back in the property kind of, almost makes it feel like it's part of the property, not a part of the community. So we're asking for the waiver to allow the sidewalk to be tight to the curb instead of 4 feet further back into the site.
Okay, are you okay with that, Phil?
Well, I just have a question regarding the sidewalk. I wasn't at that meeting, and certainly that was before my time here, but with this, but the sidewalk butt up against the curb is just it's not a great look, and that's the only sidewalk around. I mean, I don't think there's any in the whole community.
You mean as why we even installed the sidewalk?
Right,
in the
I mean,
first
I understand the curb because of drainage. Usually we're the other way around. The sidewalk, we'll take the sidewalk and forget the curb.
Right.
So my question is, why that particular one? And if this was going to be the first one in the neighborhood, why wouldn't we do the rest of them as part of this lot? And I don't want to belabor it because it's really not very consequential, but I would almost say that put the curb in and just plant grass there, or else it's going to look just to be a, I mean, people will use it, but.
Recommended the sidewalk, and they said the engineer T&M, which wasn't do at the time.
Right. So that's just my.
Planning commission, but I don't know why the planning commission want a sidewalk there.
I don't know that the planning commission members by themselves insisted upon it. I think it was a comment to Russ regarding his review letter, and he had suggested the installation of sidewalks there.
Would the curbing along Mckinley help the drainage?
The curbing certainly will with and their engineer spoke of that as well as far as and adding inlets. And we're always looking for stormwater improvements, so that's great. But I want to be respectful with regard to council's recommendation regarding sidewalks, since we are looking to try to make things more walkable. But this is a tough one.
It's in the middle of nowhere, right?
Right. I mean, it's a nice community of all like grass. I mean, even the curb, which I'm in favor of, it's like the only curb that I knew.
Mr. McGinnis, you're asking for a waiver on that sidewalk?
Yes. We would be happy to contribute a fee.
Yeah, we would be happy to do a fee in lieu of. We thought it was.
Thank you, Mr. Polari.
This is what we're here for.
Sometimes when it leads to nowhere,
Right.
people walk on it and they walk into.
It's
And
only
then
going to
it
be a
dead
sidewalk
ends.
across 2 houses. And that's the only sidewalks in the entire
Yes,
neighborhood?
we're agreeable to a fee in lieu for that stretch as well. Yes. More green space.
Okay, and then,
So it takes that waiver off.
Yeah.
So then we
So that,
remove that waiver.
everything else is a will.
I just looked at, reading it correct, I was reading a little bit, but they look like they're pretty wide, but the fronts on the 3 new lots are what frontage?
What's the,
What's the frontage on the 3 lots?
100 and, I mean, what is?
The width,
Yeah.
75.
So they're all the proper width at that point?
Yes, they're all
Yes,
zoning
yes,
compliant
They're all oversized and over width.
They're all oversized, okay.
for the zoning district, yes.
75 feet.
So that's zoning, okay. Well, in this neighborhood, they're all two neighborhoods. Okay, is there any other waivers?
No, everything else is a will comply.
Everything else is a will comply. Okay, and then is there a reason, I guess it's not much intention, but it looks like you're not making the water situation worse, you're making it a little bit better, but not much. So, I'm not down here, but point 0.9 to 0.5, 0.8 to 0.5, 0.7 to 0.5.
Yeah,
Correct, yeah.
It's already pretty low, it's a
correct, because it's not a macadam, it's a, unimproved yard, and we're cutting down the flows with the development, yes.
Okay, is there any other questions from council for people? Okay, is there anybody from the audience who wants to speak for or against this minor subdivision? Okay, seeing no one come forward, is there anybody who wants to put a motion forward in reference to preliminary final subdivision for 2289 Green Avenue, with the waivers mentioned?
I'll try my first one.
Okay, go ahead.
How's that? So I'm going to put a motion on the floor, and correct me if I'm wrong, for the property at 2289 Green Avenue to be 3 additional lots, including the one existing, and tax parcel map 02-039-104. Next. Go ahead, do next. With the waivers set forth on page 2 of the T&M letter, with one adjustment. The first waiver being no curbing along Wine and Green Avenue, not requiring cartway widening of Wine and Green Avenue, and not requiring sidewalks along Wine, Green, and McKinley.
Correct.
Am I missing anything?
No, and curb would be along McKinley. since
Curbing
she
would
didn't
be
have
along
that. She didn't
McKinley.
leave that out, just to clarify.
And a fee in lieu.
Fee in lieu of.
And fee in lieu of for
sidewalks.
curbs and
Sidewalks that aren't
sidewalks
being
Yes.
installed.
where we're not specified,
Correct.
Per engineer.
per engineer.
Okay, and then there's a $2,000 fee for the recreation fee for each lot.
That's understood.
Okay. Understood, okay.
Impact fee be paid.
And the impact fee to be paid upon permits, which I should know that one.
You can ask Mr. Pizzo.
And is there anything else I'm missing, Mr. Pizzo, on my first motion?
No, that seems to cover everything. The deeds for the newly created lots will be submitted to the township engineer and the township solicitor for review and approval, and will be recorded before or at the time of recording of the record plan.
I'll make a DVD of this and give it to you.
Okay, too bad the Boy Scouts left, you know? But anyway, there they are, okay. Okay, is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay, Michelle, first, second. First, second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay, good luck.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you.
Have a good night. Happy Valentine's Day.
Okay. You didn't bring us candy, Tom? No candy or anything? Okay, number 10 on the agenda, minor land development, Peter Tatala Associates LLC, 2701 Old Lincoln Highway.
Yes, good evening, members of council. My name is Peter Tantella with Tantella Associates.
Okay.
I'm here on behalf of the applicant, really is the Roosevelt Memorial Park. They're located at 2701 Old Lincoln Highway, where they operate and maintain a cemetery. And I'm here on behalf, to represent them as their civil engineer on behalf of their minor land development submission this evening. With me this evening are Leah Feldman. She's with the ownership. She represents the owner, as well as Mr. Steve Hughes. He is here as the project manager and contractor for the project.
Okay.
So the project, and we're going to attempt to use the computer as well. The Roosevelt Memorial Park occupies, again, 2701 Old Lincoln Highway, which is a 9-acre parcel having frontage on Street Road, Highway Route 1, and Old Lincoln Highway as well. This project proposes only about 18,000 square feet of earth disturbance, fronting primarily on the Old Lincoln Highway portion of the parcel. And what the Memorial Park proposes to do is really 4 things. Construct a new 3,300 square foot footprint, 1-story administration building, accessory to their cemetery use. In doing that, they will, number 2, demolish their existing accessory administration building. Number 3, they would build a new 11 vehicle surface parking lot accessory to that building, replacing the lot where they're at now. And then fourthly, they'll construct a rain garden stormwater management feature. The proposed earth disturbance, again, is 18,000 and some odd square feet of earth disturbance. However, the new impervious area would only be 945 square feet of additional impervious area to what is there now. So by code, the regulation reads that if we're below 1,000 square feet of additional impervious area, that not all of the stormwater management features that would regularly be required would be required in this case. However, some stormwater management features are required to include groundwater recharge requirement and the water quality requirement. That is why this project proposes a stormwater rain garden, surface vegetated rain garden to manage the stormwater runoff for those features. And just to show that sort of on the drawing, as you can see, and I'll attempt to navigate by mouse, Old Lincoln Highway is planned left on this screen. The existing building is this T-shaped shaded building, and that's roughly the same footprint, slightly less in footprint, but it's a 2-story building with a basement. And the new building would be a 1-story, 3,300 square foot building, no basement. The plan would be to build this building while they still occupy the T-shaped building. Once that's completed, they can then demolish the existing building, move into the new building, and then construct this 11-car parking lot serving the building. Along with that construction, the proposed stormwater management rain garden basin would be situated between the proposed building and Old Lincoln Highway as well. We are not in receipt of a technical review letter from the township engineer. However, we did have a conversation this afternoon with Nicole Kahn from Traffic Planning and Design, who indicated to us what some of the design review comments may be. They sound like they would substantially be items that the owner would agree to. However, that they would be all will comply items. However, without a letter in hand, we don't want to commit to full will comply until we have a written letter in hand.
Why don't we have a letter, Phil, you know?
I don't know, we have a letter in our packet, I'm not sure why it didn't.
Can you give it to them and let them go through
Yeah, I
it?
could do it. I should say that I'm looking that up right now because there's a few, everything involved with the review right now, there are cleanup matters, so there's not a problem with any of it. So the will complies would have been
appropriate for the existing letter that you have, and I would send, I'll make sure and send over to Pete right away, the letter. I have it on my phone.
Can I ask the date of the letter?
Here, I'll give you mine.
February
Look at
4th.
mine and go from there. How's that sound? So at least you can do this legitimate.
Now, one of the items that was conveyed to us was that a portion of our stormwater basin, the overflow spillway portion of the basin, although on our property, does extend into the ultimate right-of-way of Old Lincoln Highway. And one of the requests is that be pulled back approximately 5 feet so that it does not encroach into the ultimate right-of-way of Old Lincoln Highway. That seemed to be the most substantive item in that review letter.
And that's a will comply, you're saying?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that's a will
We
comply.
can either restructure the basin or relocate that
Okay,
facility
how,
slightly.
just out of curiosity, how old is the existing building that you're building a new building for?
Extremely old.
That's old, right? Very, very old. Yeah, very old. I've been in there, I've been in the cemetery, I think it's a very old building.
Very old, and
Yeah. And then, and it's just conditioned upon you, when you build the new building, you're required to knock down the other building, right?
Right.
Because we don't want to have it built and then keep it,
No.
as a storage shed or something, So, okay.
That's not in the plan.
Yeah, it's done, right?
She's had enough.
The letter's right there.
You're looking forward to it, right? Okay, it seems pretty simple to me, Phil. Am I missing something?
No,
or-
the biggest thing is that there's some plan parts that are missing that we're going to need for final plan revisions, which is normal. Some of the things are like there's the erosion and sedimentation plan, the grading plan, the landscape, that type of thing needs to be submitted. And
Okay, do you think we should just table this
no, I
until
think
they submit it?
if they will comply with our letter, then they'll take care of it and it'll be done.
Okay.
It's really there's no hardship associated with any of the comments that we have.
Yeah, I mean, normally would have that stuff, but I think it's a minor thing
To
here.
have that, to look at that stuff. I mean, this,
We would request that maybe 2 or 3 minutes to confer with the owner, just to review the letter in all fairness.
Okay.
Yeah, if
All right,
that's
go ahead.
appropriate.
yes.
Thank you.
This one.
No zoning comments whatsoever. This is the split. 5 feet. Yeah. Here's the signature. No fixtures. This is a no. O&M plan. That's easy. Site plan. Okay, so that's, they're identifying differences between plans as well. We'll just make sure it's protect the building, which should be installed in front of the fence, handicap accessible stalls, provide construction staging. Okay, so that's, Members of council, thank you for the recess. We conferred with the client, and they agree that all these should be will comply items.
Okay, so they're all will comply, so you don't see any issues here?
No, that's fine, sir.
All right, because just replacing the existing building is going to be nice, and it's going to be a lot nicer. Okay, so is there any questions from, in the future, we just got to make sure that everybody has the proper things ahead of time.
Understood.
Okay, so you're a long-established business there, and this is really affecting yourself. But does any other council people have any questions for the parties? Does anybody in the audience want to speak for or against this? Okay, if not, does someone want to put a motion forward?
Try it. I'll try it. All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve minor land development for 2701 Old Lincoln Highway, tax parcel 02-001-005, as presented, assuming that the party will comply with all of our requirements.
And will comply. And then, Bill, the only thing they had mentioned that I wanted to clarify, just to clarify, one of the will complies is they're going to move the rain garden 5 feet in, is that what they said? Or what was that? You said 5 foot or something, you had to move something?
Yeah, they have to move the rain garden.
There's a portion of the rain garden, the spillway portion of it encroaches into the ultimate right-of-way.
Exactly right.
Right, that portion would be removed from that right-of-way.
So, and that's, even that's a rough one because, they should do it.
Yeah.
But because ultimate right-of-way is if we're ever going to widen there. It's a cemetery, so we're never going to widen.
Okay.
Okay, so,
All right, I just wanted to make sure that, clarify what that was. I wasn't sure, Michelle.
Okay.
Okay, so everything's that will comply. Is anything else, or
I
you're good?
think I'm
Okay.
good. Am I, Mr.
Joe, is she
Pizzo?
good with that motion?
Am I okay?
She's good. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Second, okay. Stacy has a second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay. All right, good luck. Good luck.
Thank you for your
Okay,
consideration.
all right.
Give it to the attorney now.
Give it to the attorney. There you go. I'm sorry. I should have mentioned that. Okay, mazel tov, right?
Have a good evening, thank you.
Okay. Okay, the number 11, consideration of land development extension for Spadurto Investments LLC, 901 Tennis Avenue. Mr. Polari, Mr. Pizzo, do you have this?
Certainly.
Polari Pizzo.
Township has received a request for an extension of an existing land development agreement for Spadurto Investments LLC for property located at 901 Tennis Avenue in Bensalem. The applicant is requesting the extension for an additional 1 year that would take it out to February 8, 2023. If council is of a mind to grant the request, the administration recommends that you do so conditioned upon an audit of the developer's escrow accounts by the engineer and by the finance department to make sure that sufficient funds remain in place for the completion of the public improvements.
Okay, if there's not any questions, if someone wants to put a motion to a standard extension for development,
I have a question,
contingent upon
Mr.
the,
Knowles.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
have a question. I just would like to understand the reason for the extension. Do we have information about why this extension is needed?
And not to sound flippant, please, but at least as far as the information I have is they're not done. And so the development agreement sets a specific period of time once they hit that benchmark. And it has a specific period of time so that once they get to that benchmark, if they haven't completed the development, it gives the township an opportunity to go in and make sure that the monies that we require them to post with the township to secure the completion of the improvements, to make sure that everything's in order there. So when we extend it, by operation of that process, it also has us go back, audit the numbers, make sure that, and particularly now where construction costs, when this project was approved probably 2 years ago, were significantly less than they are now.
Right.
If there was a significant amount of the project still to be done, the engineer and the finance department may turn around and say, well, you know, what we thought could be completed for $20 a foot now is $40 a foot, and so therefore the numbers need to be redone, and we may require additional escrow of them. If you're asking why it's not done, that I don't have the answer to. Perhaps Quentin might know what the status of the project is in terms of completion, whether it's 10%, 90%. But that's why a land development agreement, extension agreement comes in front of you.
Yeah, I didn't want to assume, I just thought we'd have specifics on this one. Thank you.
In general terms, if you want to make it a shorter time, it's because there's having a problem with neighbors, and we want to make sure we get this done because it's causing neighbors problems, so that we may shorten the extension time on something. But usually we go about a year, just
Okay.
to give them an opportunity to finish
Sometimes with
it.
the supply chains too now, the way
Right,
they
yeah,
can't get
well
supplies
aware.
and building stuff.
All right,
Do you want to
let's-
mention how they're doing down there?
Yeah,
or
where
have
are
they
we with
started
this
at all, or-
development?
The job's pretty much almost complete. There's some
Okay.
fine tuning. Right now, they got most of the work done that they could before winter hit. So really, the only thing we have to wait for stabilization, plantings are done, the wearing course needs to be paved and striped. And I know they're in the process of trying to figure out what they're doing in the buildings, so I know there's some building construction that still needs to be taken care of.
Okay,
But for the most part, the majority of the work is done on the site.
thank you.
Okay, all right, any other questions? Okay, so, and when we make a motion, we're going to make it contingent upon the finance department or zoning, or department doing an audit of the escrows.
So
Okay,
moved.
so moved, okay, and then is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any against? Okay, thank you. Okay, and then number 12, consideration amending of community development COVID CV3 substantial. Joe, do you have this, or?
Yes. Back in November of last year, council approved the use of some of the township's COVID CV3 funds, which are community development funds from the federal government. Those were approved to be used as part of a mortgage foreclosure prevention program that was being initiated in the county to help folks who were in danger of losing their homes as a result of COVID, loss of employment, and things of that nature. Since last November, that program is now being funded entirely by the county. And so it affords the township an opportunity to reallocate those community development funds to a different program. The program is being recommended by the administration, is being administered through the Family Service Association of Bucks County. And what it is would be, the monies would be diverted to a healthcare program that would provide medical assistance and medical services, health services to the homeless of our community, and in part through a pilot, what's being called a street medicine program, to help with homelessness in our community and in the county. So keeping in mind that, again, these are community development funds, which means that they are specifically earmarked to help members of the community that are in financial need. So this use would be consistent with what those federal funds are earmarked to be used for. So again, it's a project that is being quarterbacked by the county. The township would be contributing a portion of our CDBG funds to that, our CDBG COVID fund. I shouldn't say CDBG, forgive me, because those are different. Community Development COVID funds to that program. And it would be in the amount of $84,600, which is the amount that had been previously allocated for the mortgage foreclosure prevention program.
Okay, is there any other questions from anybody on the board? If not, we have a motion to hopefully accept.
I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, and then is there a second? Second, okay, so we have Mr. Back and Mr. Benitez. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay, thank you. Okay, number 13, consideration of resolution authorizing acceptance of a municipal grant contract award by the redevelopment authority to the county of Bucks for $165,000 for tags. Joe, do you have this?
I do, and what I'm about to say would apply to items 13, 14, and 15, all three of which are resolutions that would authorize the acceptance of municipal grant contracts with the redevelopment authority of the county. As the newer members of the board may or may not be aware, annually, the Redevelopment Authority administers the distribution of municipal grant program funds to the communities of Bristol Township, Middletown Township, Pendle Borough, or I'm sorry, Humeville Borough, Bensalem Township, primarily, and then through those, the county and other neighboring communities as well. These are casino funds that go from the casino to the state to the RDA for distribution to communities either affected by or adjacent to the communities that are home to casinos. The Redevelopment Authority, each year the township and all of the eligible communities submit applications. Each year those applications are reviewed and approved, or in some cases not approved, by the Redevelopment Authority and are funded based upon what the annual take from the casino is as part of the process of distributing them to the various communities and the various projects or applications they receive. This year, there are 3 applications of the township that were approved by the RDA for funding, the first of which is $165,000 for the Towns Against Graffiti program. This is a program that obviously has been in place for some time, and the RDA has been funding on an annual basis. The final step of the process, is the way the RDA does it, is the township first has to approve the submission of the application. If the application is approved, we then have to do a second vote to accept the award, and then the third and final vote you have to take is the resolution that authorizes the entry of an agreement with them for the funds and for the administration of the same. So this is the third and final resolution in that step, and that is true for all 3 items, 13, 14, and 15. So that having been said for all 3 of those items, again, for item 13, the resolution would approve the entry of a municipal grant contract between the township and the RDA for the $165,000 RDA municipal grant for the operation of the Towns Against Graffiti program. The resolution is in a form acceptable to the RDA, has been approved and reviewed by our office, and is acceptable for your consideration and approval this evening.
Okay, any questions on any of these 3 resolutions? Then we'll just vote on them quickly.
Can we vote all 3? Okay. So I can make a motion?
Yeah, you can make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items 13, 14, and 15 as presented by Mr. Pizzo.
It's good.
That's okay, Joe, right?
That's absolutely fine.
Works for me.
Okay, is there a second? Second. And Stacy second, then Joseph first. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any against? Okay, so 13, 14, and 15 are all accepted resolutions. Okay, number 16 on the agenda is consideration of resolution pertaining to a standard thing we do, destruction of all records of the building and planning department. Jody, anything about this, or?
Yes, again, as you said, this is something you're asked to approve from time to time. State law requires the approval of the council before any township records can be disposed of or destroyed. In this case, the township is looking to dispose of and destroy various records dating from February 11, 2020 through to the present. They are outlined in the list that's attached to the proposed resolution. All of the items that are set forth in this list to be destroyed, it should be noted, have been scanned and are being preserved electronically by the township so that they will be available to the township in the future. The disposal is consistent with the requirements set forth for the disposition and disposal of government records by the Commonwealth Local Government Records Committee. The resolution is in a form acceptable for your consideration and approval this evening.
Okay, if there's no questions, anybody want to put a motion at this, this resolution presented?
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Second, Stacy's a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any against? Okay, that's good.
Can you have a roll call on that one, please?
If you insist. Okay, so is the public comment, does anybody have any public comment? We had it earlier, but seeing no one come forward, we'll go to other business. The mayor had a leave. Mr. Pizzo, do you have any other business that you need to discuss?
There was something I wanted to mention, Mr. Knowles, and for the life of me, it's escaped me. So other than just to
Wish me a happy Valentine's
hope that
Day.
everyone's had a
Ask me
happy
to be your
Valentine's
Valentine, is that
Day
what you're
and the last 2 hours are enjoyable. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Okay. If you think of it, you can call me later, Joe, all right?
Oh, I do. I just wanted to, as some of you may have noticed on your way into the building this evening, one of the dioramas from the Neshaminy Mall.
Yeah, I saw it. It's cool.
The preservation of which has been completed and is now on display in the lobby in its new permanent case. The mayor filmed an interview with the professionals who were hired to do the cleaning and restoration of the diorama. It's an interesting watch if you get a chance. It's on the township website and I think running periodically on cable channels, the township's cable channels.
If
So
you get an opportunity to bring your children in, it's really gorgeous.
It's very nice, yeah.
beautiful. It's even you can see it even more up close
Oh,
than you
it's
could when
beautiful.
they were at the Neshaminy Mall. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
it's a great, it's a, something unique to the community, and it's a wonderful preservation that, and kudos to our Historical Society for their efforts in helping to get that done.
Okay, thank you. Phil or Deb, you don't have anything, right, besides?
Nothing.
Okay, you're good. Good. Okay, Michelle, do you have anything you'd like to add?
We had Unity Week with Building a Better Bensalem last month. Unfortunately, I wasn't able, our last meeting, I wasn't able to attend, right? But it went really well. We did a hybrid model with option of virtual or in-person at St. Ephraim's, and it was just great to have the community together. It's one of the biggest events of the year for Bensalem, and it really just helps everybody to kind of celebrate what we have here. So thank you to B3T for that. And Toby Kahn, who's the chair of the diversity committee there for organizing. And other than that, happy Valentine's Day. And I would like to just take just a moment to recognize that across our nation over the last couple of days, we've had several police officers shot, injured. And if you could please keep them in your thoughts and prayers.
Just
Thank you.
yesterday.
Okay, thank you.
13.
Have anything?
Yes, happy Valentine's Day. Just want to recognize a couple great things that happened this past week for some of our local sports teams. Bensalem, a championship for basketball,
Oh,
which
yeah, I
is
saw that.
amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
And so they're moving
Ron-
on. Tomorrow
Coach Ron
night, they have
Morris.
a game. No, it's the 15th.
No, they won the
They
league, but
won,
there's another they're going on.
game tomorrow night, and then the St. Ephraim's JV Region boys team are the Region 19 champions, so I'm very excited about that. My children's school, and the
They beat St. Charles by 2 points,
They beat St. Charles
right?
by 2 points, and
A
I was
much
about to
smaller
say
school,
that.
though.
I was about to say that it was a nail biter of a game, and those boys on both sides played with such heart and grit and determination. It was great to see two teams from Bensalem fight it out, and then the 9th and 10th grade St. Ephraim's team brought home a region basketball championship too. So congratulations to all of them and to all the kids who have performed so well in all the sports all season for the winter sports, and we're on to spring sports soon, and happy Valentine's Day.
Okay, Mr. Kissel, Mr. Polari, do you have anything you would like to add?
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, especially my wife Cammie and my son Nick. Valentine's, I'm sorry. I need to catch up on my sleep. Happy Valentine's Day, Cammie and Nick.
Your wife give you a turkey for Valentine's Day or something? Mr. Kisselback, do you have anything you would like to add?
Sure, I'd like to say again, as everyone has said, Happy Valentine's Day to everyone, and congratulations to Los Angeles on the Super Bowl. Condolences to the Cincinnati fans because it was such an excellent game, as all the playoff games this year were unbelievably entertaining, down to the last seconds. How about that? It's like watching a basketball game. You just watch the last 5 seconds of it, and that's the whole excitement of it. But it was an excellent game, and I didn't know who to vote for, who to root for, because they both had their great stories. So congratulations to Stafford and his crew. And Joe Burrow will have his term coming up, I'm sure, coming up. And as far as the Eagles?
Next year.
There you go. Thank you. That's it, Joe.
Okay. So I just would, again, happy Valentine's Day. I was glad you got to spend the night with us. It was very nice. But, but that's it. And hopefully our next meeting, we're trying to push for February the 28th. Okay, and just to comment on Michelle, that was BT3 was great to have something this year, and I was able to make St. Ephraim's at the end, and they had a nice thing. And I can't wait till next year when this is all cleared up and we can eat at every event again, But with that, we're going to adjourn. Motion to adjourn? Yeah.
We've been sitting here all night.
Well, we asked for public comment 2 things ago.
We thought that was for the specific thing you were talking about.
No, we asked for public comment 2 times.
Sir, we were confused. We thought it was about what the gentleman was talking about.
Okay. Well, what do you have, can you make it quick, because we have to...
Well, we'll do the best we can, sir. Thank you.
I said, does anybody have any public comment? I actually looked at you, I didn't know you were...
This is my first time coming here,
Okay, that's
so I
all
didn't
right, no
understand
problem.
proceeding. But
That's all right, go ahead.
good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Represent the car club, the Iron Rebels. We're looking to put on a charity event at the Alliance Cancer Center on Route 13, across from the Woodhaven Mall.
Okay.
They own the property, the building, the road going in. We'd like to ask for exemption on the permits and costs. Our car club is a nonprofit. The Alliance Cancer Specialists are a nonprofit.
Okay, well, if you apply at building and planning and then request a reduction in your permits or a waiver, and then we'll put that on the agenda and we'll make a decision about that.
Okay, so we got to go to the permit thing
Yep,
first?
yep, that's how you do that, yep.
Okay.
What's the date of the event? Okay, so you have a little bit of time. Just go to planning and then say, let them know what the cause is, and it's a charity, and make a request, and then we'll do whatever we can.
Okay.
Try to help you out.
All right, thank you very
Okay.
much for your time. Oh, what's that? Well, we have to do the permit thing first. That's in the permits.
Now, is it a car show? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's a car show, and all the money's going to benefit Alliance, and that'll offset people's co-pay for cancer treatment.
Okay, great.
And we're a nonprofit. Every penny that comes into the show goes right to them.
Okay, we have several car shows for charity, so they'll be used to helping you out, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry for your wait, okay?
No, no problem.
All right,
It was good.
take care. All right, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved.